guys. So we were going live. We have so much to talk about. Vince McMahon scandal. I'm 39. It was my birthday. I'm going to talk about being 39. Well, yeah, might as well get started. Yeah, you're 39, but like in number only because okay, this is something I was reading about was like the lifespan has elongated, the average lifespan. And one of the things that we're having, or we're gonna have more of, is we have like this crisis of like dementia and kind of brain health. As the human lifespan gets longer, people are living to be 90, 100 years old. The average lifespan is like close to 80, even though it has gone down recently because America's such a hellhole. It's gone down, but it's longer than it was, right? 100 years ago, 50 years ago, whatever, 80 years ago. And so people are living longer, but their brain health is deteriorating at the same rate. Your body is living longer, but your brain. This is why a lot of people get dementia and whatnot around 80 or because it's your brain isn't used to living that long, so it kind of atrophies. And so I think, just in general, the fact that the lifespan has elongated, I think that's why we're having a lot of kind of the societal problems that we're having, this kind of generational conflict, the boomer hate, and a president who's 80 years old, who is sort of one of the maybe cognitively, like, I don't know. I mean, is Biden disabled? I don't know. But, I mean, it's not unusual for somebody that age to be probably like that. I don't know. Uh, but it's like people aren't moving up the ladder. People aren't retiring. The wealth, the position, the clout, it's all being kind of hoarded by old people. So no one is, Generation X, things, they didn't get to grow up. We've never had a Gen X president, I heard somebody say, right? And somehow our presidents are getting older. It's like, um, these are the consequences, I think, of having more people live longer. Or at least like without like an organized way to deal with that. It's like people aren't retiring. The thing that's constantly kind of like in my face is like the grandchildren crisis, right? Like boomers have hoarded so much wealth that we can't have children, so they don't get to have grandchildren. That's like, their own kind of greed biting them in the ass, or their own privilege kind of biting them in the ass. They didn't really pass things down. Things have not really kind of like, the power remains with that generation. They don't want to retire. Who knows what that's a whole other thing when they retire. Uh, what that's gonna be like, but uh, it's not like these are inherently bad things. It's not a bad thing that more people are living longer, right? That's probably a good thing. I mean, it is a good thing, isn't it? I mean, but uh, at the same time, there's all these consequences of that, and our society's just not adjusting. Things have changed so much, and it just seems like our government isn't adjust. I don't know. It's just or I don't know. Maybe it is adjusting, and maybe it's just rigged against us. It's like everything is about the stock market. It's all about private equity. It's all about venture capitalists. It's all about making those people wealthy, and they're doing it like at the expense of just like real life and reality, and it's increasingly harder and harder to just like subsist, to find a place to live, to pay rent, um, and yet there's no reaction to sort of like changing those situations. We're just sort of plunging further and further into the kind of wealth disparity, into the money uh, gravitating upwards. And I don't know. How do we change it? What do we do? I don't know. No one seems to give a fuck. The guy, I don't know. I guess. In any case, so turning 39, I think that we all feel like I'm not 39. I'm in denial about it. I don't, like just like there's a sort of arrested development, right? I think that has happened because of this kind of generational gridlock. I have this poem or line in one of my poems from my book Speed Chess. The generations stop walking up the stairs like an elevator that went out of service, and it does kind of feel that way. It feels like we just, I live like, a 24-year-old or I don't know, really like a kid. I mean, this the situation I'm in is more or less like living with one's parents, I guess. Uh, I can't really afford like a market value situation in this day and age. Uh, because things are just like predatorily expensive. There is no rent control. There is no liberal policy. The boomers were kind of the beneficiaries of a post-war surplus, World War II, and kind of liberal policies that kept things cheap. They could have rent control. They could have welfare. There were great society programs. This is something I've been thinking about is America in the 60s, the Great Society and these things, public socialism, basically. The 20th century, a lot of America was kind of socialistic. That was what kind of, that's what made the 60s, that kind of fruition artistically, whatever, culturally possible. That post-war generation, except, of course, the people who got drafted and had to go to Vietnam, they were the beneficiaries of a material surplus that was somewhat equally distributed because it wasn't Reagan era tax cuts where they slashed all the taxes on the wealthy. The wealthy still paid a fair share, and so there was a little bit of socialism in this country as far as like the arts, welfare, whatever it is. There was public infrastructure. And I think if you look at them killing John F. Kennedy, them killing fucking Martin Luther King, them killing Malcolm X, them killing fucking RFK, they killed a lot of people in the 60s to make sure that that wasn't going to be the future. They wanted to take our society from being this kind of socialist, progressive, more equal sharing of the wealth, and they wanted to take it private. They wanted to take it into this kind of military-industrial complex, right? Privatizing the military, privatizing arms, security, national security, and all this stuff. And that's the society we live in now. We live in the result of 40 years of undoing all of that. When Reagan came in 1980, they started undoing all of that shit. They started getting rid of all the fucking government kind of socialistic programs and cutting taxes on rich people, basically, with the money that they had. And I don't know. It's just like, it's so frustrating to live in a society where it's not like we can't gather and have lives and things, but like, it just makes it so much harder. Our youth, I think, has been like elongated because we're constantly like back and forth between like, oh, I'm living with my parents again. Oh, I have my own place. Oh, I've got 6 roommates. Oh, I've got, I have to work my entire life just to pay for anything. It's just like, we don't have an autonomy. We don't have any agency. We don't have our own apartments. We don't have our own space. That's on purpose. They want to, it not only works for them financially because they make more money to just like charge us more for everything and financialize the fuck out of everything, but also like it disempowers us as people. It prevents us from organizing, it prevents us from thinking, it prevents us from creating an alternative culture. They want a kind of minimalist work camp where just like everybody has to work all the fucking time to even pay for their shitty little, prefab condo or whatever. It's 4/1 or whatever those are called. And I do think the boomers were like the beneficiaries of the old world, which was still functional, mom and pop, brick and mortar, uh, pedestrian friendly somewhat, mass transit somewhat. It was coming out of that, but it was before global warming, before you really understood that cars were like killing the planet. Gas was still cheap. So they were the beneficiaries of that car culture with none of the guilt, none of the kind of problematic like we are. Like now, even though we're kind of trapped in this kind of infrastructure because the oil companies don't want us to have mass transit, they want us to have these, machines, which are like profit factories for them. And so most people in this country, like I said, it works for their benefit in multiple ways because it kills community, it kills face to face, everything's faster, everything is dehumanized, distant, parking lots everywhere. They paved paradise and put up a parking lot. They didn't put up a train station, they didn't put up a trolley, they put up a parking lot. I mean, what's more of a waste? What's more of a wasteland than a fucking parking lot? And so I don't know. My delusion was coming to New York and sort of trying to cling to that 20th century socialistic. I've got Medicaid. I was in that rent controlled apartment, $600 a month for a 2-bedroom. That is privilege. That's a kind of wealth in and of itself. A boomer could have gotten an apartment in 1968 or 1975 that was $100 a month or whatever, and now their rent is like $300 a month. That's something we will never know about, people our age. And so it's harder for us to gather, it's harder for us to hang out, it's harder for us to spend time, collaborate. Everything is on the run. Everything is catch as catch can, paycheck to paycheck. It's a struggle, That's why these open mics are so important. These gathering places and bars, wherever we can, whatever public space, whatever time we can spend with each other, building a culture, conferring with each other, enlightening each other. It's important, to do that face to face, even though the internet is the third place now. And, they want the whole kind of like common social life to be on the internet. They want us to be in the metaverse. Make the metaverse Super Mario 64. That's my theory. The thing is, the metaverse is so banal and lame. Make the metaverse Grand Theft Auto 3. Just put everything that you're going to put in the metaverse in Grand Theft Auto 3. Just put Facebook in Grand Theft Auto 3. Or whatever the fuck they want to do with the metaverse. Put stores in Grand Theft Auto 3. Put fucking, libraries, comedy. They already did. They had the comedy club in Grand Theft Auto 4 with like Cat Williams and Ricky Gervais and shit. I don't know. It doesn't look good. Now they've got this Apple VR headset thing. This is my frustration with the tech and why I will never stop talking shit about these people, because it has to be said. Because, they're just thieves. They just stole everybody's, I do kind of feel for Hollywood, and I do kind of feel for the music industry, because the tech industry really just ripped them off. To be honest, they are more or less giving away their content for free. Like Spotify pays the artists very little on, and it's like they're just using this fucking music basically for free. And you know, we're moving from a world of physical objects, CDs, DVDs, physical media, you know, fucking books. And it's all, you know, everything is a swipe now. Everything is fucking glass, and it's not really tactile. It's not really intricate. It's all just fucking code. It's all just frictionless. They want everything to go frictionless. And you know, I think there's something to be said for evolving and getting with the times, but I also just think that it's savage. The movement of capital and the way that finance is kind of divorcing everything from reality and real value and real objects. The market has very little to do with, or like the businesses are like secondary to the market. The market's what's important. The business is like not as important. You know, like fucking Kellogg's can like be shitty as long as the stock is making, as long as the stock holders are making money, then we don't really care about the product necessarily. Hollywood movies can be dog shit as long as the shareholders are making their return on investment, right? And it's just atrophying the physical world. There's no, you know, this is why everybody marvels at like a fucking brownstone that's 100 years old, because they could actually make things. People worked with their hands. I think there is a romanticization of that with millennials and with Gen Z, where there's like these kind of artisanal, you know, like you know, I'm a woodworker. I work with furniture, right? Like that was the guy on Girls. He's like Adam is like a fucking, he's a woodworker. That's like sexy. All these guys in Brooklyn are like woodworkers and shit. They're like building tables and shit. Or like Nick Offerman, right? I've got a mustache that's 100 years old. I've got a fucking twirly mustache, and I build fucking wine casks. I make craft beer in my aged whiskey, aged barrels, or whatever the fuck it is. You know, it's a romanticization of something that's disappearing. You know, we feel we're surrounded by phones and social media and invisible, you know, invisible, intangible, you know, and it is sort of a quandary for the content makers. How do we, the media is the same thing, right? All these fucking media places are, it is an apocalypse. I'm here to tell you, it is a media apocalypse out there. Sports Illustrated just fired all their writers. They liquidated their fucking staff. You know, like, that's unusual. And it is going to be up to independent content creators and amateur sort of hearsay journalists like myself to sort of arbitrate what the fuck is going on in reality, because there's no newspapers, right? They can't sell you a fucking newspaper, so they don't know how to monetize any of this shit. They don't know how to monetize music or movies. It's all these streaming services. They're just, you know, it's like there's no physical object for them to sell you, right? They can charge you money for a DVD. You own that, right? Well, this is the other thing. We're now in a renter economy. You rent forever. You don't own anything. You don't own your house. You don't own a CD. You don't own a DVD. You don't own a VHS. You don't own a book. You own a fucking Kindle. All your books are in the Kindle. They can just take them right off, whatever. All your movies are in the cloud. You know, you're leasing from the cloud. And so we're being disempowered in all of these subtle ways where you can't do anything without the internet, without sort of a third party interlocutor of a tech mafia, where it's like you have to pay for Netflix to watch WWF Raw. I wonder how they feel about the Vince McMahon. How does Netflix feel about? I mean, he's the villain. It just works for his character. It's just more sordid. It's, you know, that's what reality looks like. That's why fiction has a hard time outdoing reality, and why, you know, wrestling tried to be as dirty and sordid as it could possibly be. And yet, look at the real thing. Look at what Vince McMahon actually did in his real fucking life. I mean, even worse than his character. And yet he is one of the ultra capitalists. He's one of the winners of our, I mean, I can't tell you how much fucking wrestling shit I see on TikTok. Wrestling is a huge part of the American culture, the American economy. WWE was like this blockbuster deal. TKO Productions. They're trying to go legit, just like the mafia. They're trying to go 100% legit. Where it's like this, now it's this corporation. They went public, whatever that was, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. It's $1 billion company. It's as big as really anything in the fucking media. Influentially, right? And yet, it's run by the devil. Surprise, surprise. I don't know. This is why we have our issues with the American entertainment industry, and we have to do poetry, and we have to live stream organically. This is free range shit, okay? No, this is ethical content, okay? This is ethical consumption. There's no steroids in my live stream, okay? There's no fucking Vince McMahon video teleporn. Okay? I mean, that's one thing about Vince McMahon is he would invest in his product. He took all his money and he reinvested it in the best video technology, the best bells and whistles, the best fireworks, and all of it. He had the most current shit with everything. I mean, he is an exemplar of American capitalism. There's no question. He is one of the avatars of our age, I would say. If you want to study America from 1980, when he was in military school, they said he was the only kid in his military school that had ever been court-martialed. He was such a bad kid. He had been sent to military school, and he disobeyed. That's like Trump. A lot of times, those are the people that run shit in our culture. Our culture rewards people that are extremely antagonistic and who don't play by the rules, who are incorrigible, who are willing to cheat, and who are criminal, who are psychos, basically. I did see this thing I posted on my Instagram. It was the most kind of whacked out, but I thought there was some truth to it. It was like, I think it was a 4chan comment. Which makes perfect sense. But it was about, there's a secret war going on between psychopaths and schizophrenics. And it's because the schizophrenics can recognize, they're good at pattern recognition. They recognize the psychos. And so the psychos run everything. A lot of times you'll see a psychopath as like a CEO figure, like Trump or Vince McMahon or Jack Welch or Reagan or whoever, Bush, Cheney. They're psychos. They're fucking, they're not that different than fucking serial killers, maybe. Or, I don't know, there's things about their personality. They don't have empathy. When they're little, when they're kids, they're bullies. They make fun of people. They torture animals. God knows what they do. They're psychopaths. But a lot of times they're charismatic people. They're magnetic people, like Vince McMahon. They use black magic, okay? If it was Star Wars, they're on the dark side. I'm, schizophrenic, I'm not exactly sure what classifies somebody as being schizophrenic, but I do think a lot of people of artistic temperament or probably like creative people or, like I think in tribes, the shaman figure is typically like a schizophrenic, somebody who hears voices, who channels. And so, I'm sympathetic to those people. These people don't necessarily fit in our society. They're not cogs. They're not gears in a system. They're not financialized, or they're not economically viable as just like drones, like normies are, right? The idea is the normies don't recognize the psychopaths. They trust them, like with Trump. People, I think they recognize he's psycho, but they like it, or, they just, I don't know. They think he's on their side. They think he's fighting for them. And maybe they don't recognize it. Maybe they just think he's just a guy and he's not that, they don't recognize the threat, maybe. But the schizophrenic people do recognize the psychos. But the psychos use the normies to keep the schizos down. Like a lot of schizophrenic people are homeless or uh and I could relate to that. I do feel like they're, the people that I've known in my life who seem like sociopathic, um, they're always biting off more than they can chew. They don't have any fucking boundaries. They're empathetic. They're charismatic. They're like the Judge in Blood Meridian, kind of. I don't know. I get along with them in a weird way. Or they get along with me for some reason. I think they're feeding on my light energy. I do think that there is a war. Well, yeah. So that's what this cracked out Reddit 4chan post was about. There's a secret war going on, and like our society. I mean, if you look at Wall Street, if you look at finance, I mean, I've seen some of these people firsthand. Look at Wolf of Wall Street. Tell me those people aren't fucking psychos. Tell me that those people are not. I mean, they're breaking all the fucking rules. They're on coke. They're on quaaludes. They're fucking. You know, and yet they're indestructible somehow. They don't care about the ethics of what they're doing. They're just trying to make a fuckload of money and blow it on drugs and a huge party for no reason. That means nothing. And they run our society. They run capitalism because they'll do anything to make money. I mean, look at our fucking defense budget. That's a lot of people that are making money for quote-unquote defense. Let me look at my notes here, see what else I've got on the old... Yeah, I don't know. The other thing, TikTok pulled, or Universal Music Group pulled all their music off TikTok, which I think is a big mistake because TikTok is the way that young people discover music and listen to music now. A little 5-second clip of some song from 50 years ago can make it, like that Rocking Around the Christmas Tree. I think that went viral on TikTok and became number one. What was it, 70 years after it came out or whatever? We're the ninja generation. I just watched Wall Street Money Never. So we watched some Wall Street movies. We watched Wolf of Wall Street. We watched Wall Street Money Never Sleeps. Gordon Gekko. You're the ninja generation. No income, no asset, no job. No income, no asset, no job. It's yeah, kinda. I mean, these things matter. That's why I talk about them constantly. I think I'm not anti-woke, and I honestly I think when people they use the word woke and they bandy it about in a way that's kind of irresponsible. I'm not, but I also feel we are getting so screwed economically right in front of us. The rug is being pulled out from under us. You cannot buy a house. You cannot afford to rent anything. Look at how much your groceries cost. It's something is definitely happening societally, structurally, where they do want to disempower, prevent people from having children and owning things. I do think that the elites, that would be sort of a subtle genocide or a subtle population control, a subtle kind of genetic engineering or eugenics to just sort of remove the economic means for a certain class of people to reproduce. It's you have to either be wealthy to have kids, be a Nepo baby or generational wealth, or you just I mean, here's one thing that I don't get. In our country, there's tons of people having children irresponsibly. You get paid for it, right? You get paid. One of the fucking few universal basic income things that we have is for every kid you have, you get, what is it, $300 a month? I mean, it's not a lot. But there are people out there that supposedly, right? These are the welfare queens. They're making all this money, having all these kids or something, and it's why not do that? Why not just have 8 kids and just if I had 30 kids. That would be 30 times $300 a month. What is that? That's $9,000 a month. Or what is it? Is it $90,000 a month? Is it 90,000? Or is it 9,000? It's 9,000. No, it's 90,000. It's 90,000. I mean, that's a lot of money. Somebody's got to repopulate, you know? I don't know. I think, I don't know. We're just, something about the internet, I guess because it is like just hearsay and sort of non-authoritative, non-hierarchical, is like it inspires just conspiratorial thinking about everything. You just start to think of that everything is sort of like by design and why is this happening? But like, I mean, these things are shifting massively right in front of us. And oh God, I don't know. Do I really have? I need to get on here and talk because I haven't done it in like 12 days. I'm out of practice. No one cares. Nobody wants to hear about political shit. You know, the reason why I complain about this stuff is because it matters culturally and artistically and life-wise. I cannot spend time with my family. I can't spend time with my friends because I don't have a convenient or functional place to live, really. You know, I live way the fuck out in the middle of nowhere. There's no food. I live far away from everything, right? Not that any of that is right, I guess. You know, that's one reason why I think millennials move back to the cities because we recognized the shittiness of kind of the post-war suburban sprawl and that it wasn't made to last. You know, planned obsolescence is so baked into everything, particularly in the post-war era, where it's just like everything's plastic, everything's plywood. I mean, a house that's built now is not really made to last longer than your mortgage. It's made to last about 30 years. And by the time 30 years is up, you have to have replaced every goddamn thing, the roof and the siding and the whatever. You know, it's like, you know, we're part of this economic system that certain people purport is like a law of nature, you know, the market and capitalism and supply and demand. And yet it's just like, it's not functioning. And it's getting less and less bearable. You know, maybe they want to kill us. You know, they want none of us to have kids, or I guess they want like the dumbest, poorest people to have kids, so they will be like labor, and then everybody will just be like criminalized slave labor. You know, we'll all be like prison labor. This is what like a few weeks of TikTok has led me to believing. You know, it's like it's going to be illegal to be homeless. It's going to be illegal to protest. So, you know, basically not having a job is going to be criminalized. So you have to be a part of society or you're in jail. And then they force you to work. They force you to build bras for Les Wexner, for Victoria's Secret, or they force you to, you know, free labor. It's you know, and so I don't know. As much as, you know, representation matters, we're just getting fucked. You know, life is just less and less livable. No quality of life, right? How many people have free time? How many people have money to travel, to be with their friends, to go to dinner, to cook, to have a pet, to have kids, to spend time with their kids? Yeah, so I don't know. I'm 39. I'm in the Peter Pan, you know, I'm Peter Panning. But, you know, the thing is, like, I don't necessarily feel like I missed out. I mean, you know, there's so little for us to own. You know, I mean, the people that I knew that were like Republicans, basically, that I grew up with, they all bought houses like before, you know, 2010. people my age, like my one friend who's like a super Ayn Rand person. He bought a house because after the crash, there was some kind of real estate incentive to help people buy houses. And so, he got a low interest rate and he got like, 8 grand cash rebate or some shit. And he got a good house in a cool part of town, before all of that happened. But he wanted to make that deal when and he was born rich, which didn't hurt at all. And his wife made $100,000 a year. So it was like, I could have like I could have maybe bought a house like in Columbus, Ohio, and got some kind of real job in like 2012 or something before things got like astronomically expensive. But like, who the fuck wanted to do that? It was so difficult to crawl, and this is what I mean about the elongation, just like the stretching of the lifespan, is it felt so difficult for me to crawl out of my childhood. I really don't. I felt like I didn't really turn 18 until I was maybe 25. Like, I'm talking about just like lifestyle things. Like in the 60s or the 50s or whatever, you could move out of your fucking parents' house when you're 18 or 17 even, because an apartment was like $30 a month. It was economically, it made sense how much an apartment cost because it was there for somebody to live in it. It wasn't just a real estate asset for somebody's fucking portfolio, like everything is now. Which is, there should be a law against that. It should be two separate fucking things. Property should be for people to fucking live in, and put your goddamn money someplace else. Or better yet, spend it, right? Isn't that what we're supposed to do with our money? Isn't that what they always tell us? Isn't that what they said after 9/11? Isn't that what George Bush said after 9/11? Go out and spend your money. Go out and shop. Well, I might tell these rich cocksuckers the same fucking thing. Go out and spend your goddamn money. It's not meant for you to just have, so you can feel like, oh yeah. It's like a pump. They're just like looking at their bank account like, oh my God, look at that fucking, oh, I've got $8 billion. Jesus Christ, look at that. Oh, I can see the heart beating in the vein. Oh my God, it's 9 billion today. Fuck. I'm going to go take a shit on somebody's head. I'm going to go take a shit on my secretary's head. And make her sign an NDA. First of all, NDA should be illegal. How is this a thing? This is something that people in power, from every example I ever hear of an NDA, it's like a Weinstein thing. It's like there's some mega powerful man who made some woman sign it so she wouldn't, prosecute because he raped her or something like that. It's always some horrific, like Trump made everybody sign NDAs because, he paid him hush payments because he fucking had sex with him while his wife was pregnant or whatever. Vince McMahon made this woman sign an NDA so she couldn't talk about how he shit on her head. It's like, what? How does that hold up in a... Oh, I've got this piece of paper that says you can't talk about it. It's like, it still fucking happened. I think an NDA, I think that is highly dubious legally. I don't think that should exist. That's something that probably white guys in power invented to gag people, essentially. That's highly dubious legally. That is why I'm here on the internet. I don't know. Somebody's got to say this shit. All right. So anyway, where were we? What were we fixing about society? Before I got onto the NDA thing. Oh, Vince McMahon shitting on somebody's head. Rich people can pay you to do anything. That's what money is. That's what's so evil about it. It is a form of mind control. And they don't even have to pay you that much. Minimum wage was $7.25 for a long time. The federal minimum wage. That's not that much to control another human being. That's insane. My time is worth a lot more than that. Believe me. Anybody's time is worth a lot more than that. What the fuck was I talking about before the NDA thing? Money, real estate. It's just sad, it's seeing things go out of business, seeing the physical world vanish before your eyes. Seeing there be no mom and pop. Everything is an Instagram fucking store, a TikTok store, an eBay fucking store. Everything's getting upcycled, including the goddamn real estate. The tackiest people have control of everything. The art sucks. They're force feeding us these famous people that are incredibly like psyop-y. I don't give a fuck about Travis or Taylor at all. And their generic American dream is disgusting to me. I don't want to see the football player on the fucking. But this is what I'm talking about, where people believe everything is a conspiracy now. They think that this is like some Democrats conspiracy, that like Taylor is dating this fucking dude to like, troll MAGA people or something. It's like they've lost touch. They think there's like causality and there's like some kind of boogeyman behind everything. And there is, but it's I don't know, man. No one's doing anything about it. Like, things are just getting worse. Things are just drying up more and more. And so, I feel like, I didn't really move out of my parents' house till I was 24. I moved to New York when I was 25, at the very end of my being 25. So a lot of the people that I meet in New York, I'm having a completely different experience. A lot of the people at the open mic are like under 25 and under. And it's like they live in downtown New York. They're performing, they're really out there. They're really hitting it hard, and it's like, I don't know, man. It just I don't know. It's frustrating not having any kind of economic autonomy, not having a place to live, not having, being able to have friends over, being able to walk places. Living in that apartment in Chelsea was really like, just, that should have just been like the baseline lifestyle. It's like I lived in a I could walk to KGB, walk to Poetry Project, take the whatever train wherever I needed to go. I had a place to myself. I could pay for it, doing something that, wasn't completely stealing my entire soul or life away. I could pay $600 a month, and like I could cover my bills, and I didn't really have to get a scheduled job. I could just kind of do poetry videography stuff. In a country as materially wealthy as this, that's what we should buy with it, right? Time is the most valuable thing that anybody has. And we're in the system that's designed to take as much of your time as possible and to create 40 plus hours, to use most of your waking hours to the point that you just have nothing left over hardly. And I've spent most of my adult life avoiding that, right? Like I said, maybe I could have, if I really would have went in for that in 2010 or 12, maybe I could have bought a house in Columbus, Ohio or something, and like that would be worth a bunch of money now, and I'd rent it out to people or something. But it's like, I don't know. I've been a 1099. I've been a fucking gig economy worker most of my adult life. I've been a freelance videographer, which, coming out of college, that's not probably what people would have expected. People, I guess they had some idea in their head they were going to get an office job or something that was going to pay them $80,000 and give them health insurance and blah. I don't know what the fuck they expected, because, to be honest, people don't want to work. They don't want a 9 to 5 that's going to last 40 years and they're going to retire. I think millennials and people younger than that did want something else. They wanted a life. They wanted experience. They wanted to travel. They didn't want to spend their whole life at a desk. But the opportunity to do that was less there for us. They dismantled basically all of that shit. And the economy has only gotten more and more like what I'm doing. I saw some fucking statistic that's like, in a few years, a big part of the economy is going to be gig worker, freelancer, uh, entrepreneurs, is how they're trying to sell it to us. I mean, look at this, for instance. How many people get on YouTube and go live, vlog, share moments of their life? This is owned by Google, right? They're encouraging us all that like we're going to be celebrities or something. We have a deep-seated need for attention, but they're also playing into our celebrity culture, and they're trying to get us to voluntarily uh share things about ourselves in the effort that like, hey, maybe we could go viral, right? But it's like, is that, they don't give a fuck about that. I mean, they have to sell things and advertise, but right, it's more about information and gathering our all of the information about our personal lives for some reason, and just having that in a fucking warehouse on a hard drive somewhere. And I've given more of myself to the internet probably than just about anybody. I probably put more of my life on the internet than most people. If you look at my YouTube page and my vlogs and everything and my live streams, oh God, ugh, shit. And on the one hand, I think that's kind of exciting. Like, there's going to be like, I guess, a death of celebrity culture, or it's just going to shift. There's not going to be like Hollywood anymore. There's going to be sort of mini celebrities everywhere, an influencer, whatever, TikToker, whatever. I think that this is something that the journalism industry, I don't think, first of all, I just don't think there's going to be one. I mean, for most of my adult life in New York City, even though in 2008 there was a lot of media outlets that went out of business, and it has been increasingly just like places dying, Peter Thiel putting Gawker out of business, all that kind of shit. There still has been like a class of people in New York City that were like media, they were writers for various, they were writers for Vice. A lot of them worked for Vice. Uh, Whatever it is, Pitchfork, Condé Nast, New York Times, whatever it is. I knew a guy that worked for Outdoor Living magazine. If you were really cool, you worked for New York Magazine, or, like I said, Vice, or, I don't know, The New Yorker, maybe, if you're that lucky. But, for Sports Illustrated just fired their entire staff. And it just seems like human beings are not, uh, they don't care if we have like a functioning society anymore. It's like these extremely wealthy, the people who participate in the stock market, basically, which is, I think I heard something like 90% of the stock is owned by like 10% of the fucking people or something. Like, those are the people that are gonna take care of themselves, and it seems like they don't give a fuck what happens to the rest of us, really. Uh, these they're just buying these newspapers and things and saying, well, this is not profitable. We have to fire all these people. We're going to have AI write these fucking stories. They just want the brand. And it's just like this kind of predatory capitalism at its worst, because it's like there's not going to be anything of value left. It's going to be just like these legacy brands that are owned by private equity, and I don't know what everything's going to be AI, everything's going to be automated, and the rest of us are going to be out of work. What's going to happen to us? You know, we're not going to be able to. We're going to get homeless and be criminalized, and you know, I heard it's actually happening with tech jobs too. Fucking, you know, 5 years ago, I heard they told everybody to go into programming, right? Or they said everybody should go into coding, programming, whatever, software development. You know, 2018, the most in demand job, software development. And pretty soon that job's going to be done by AI, you know, and that was probably a good fucking job. And so it's like when you take away a lot of those tech jobs and you take away a lot of these media jobs, I don't know. This is something we were talking about the other day. It's just like how New York City, the trajectory it's on, New York City could change a lot in the next few years. And the shape of the city during my time here, you know, I moved here when Bloomberg was still the mayor. And Bloomberg is the one that really made the city what it is now, where it's like Giuliani cleaned it up and kind of made it famous again and like the place where people could come. But Bloomberg gentrified it. He's the one that made it like a rich person city. He's the one that made it for like wealthy people. He's the one that made it sort of this luxury city with nice parks, you know, Brooklyn Bridge Park, increasing, you know, the service, the manicuring, and making it sort of like a place that rich people would want to come, extremely safe, you know, but you know, banks everywhere, CVS everywhere. They wanted to incentivize wealth. They wanted to feel like a place, a playground for the wealthy. And to be honest, I have been a little bit of a beneficiary of that. I mean, I did not move to New York at a time when it was dangerous or, you know, I have Medicaid. There are certain things that, like, it's an advantage to, if you can manage to live here and be poor, it's not actually a bad place to be poor, right? Uh, it's not dangerous, really, or at least it hasn't been. And then De Blasio, when Bloomberg got a third term, right? He rewrote the fucking rules so he could get a third term because, you know, people were liking it. I'm not saying that I was liking it, but it created a luxury, you know, it's like everything was upholstered. It's just like it was a first class, clean, sort of, whatever, but gentrify and, you know, cops everywhere. It still had some of the old New York texture and grit, you know, that hadn't been totally. But during the de Blasio era, and things really started to change around like 2016 or 17. When Trump got elected, uh, a lot of the old kind of funky stuff just kind of fell, and all this kind of new Houston on the Hudson. That's what I heard somebody call it. New York has become Houston on the Hudson. The Taylor Swift energy came in. The kind of Nashville, all these people, you know, who wanted to be on Girls moved here and wanted to be like Taylor on Cornelia Street. But then, you know, and so de Blasio, I don't know. He kind of maintained the status quo to some degree. He wasn't great, but like, you didn't necessarily get the impression, like with Eric Adams, that like he's massively fucking things up. And you're just like, whoa, what the fuck? We're in this crisis, right? Like, all the commercial office space is empty. There's all these migrants coming into the city that with nowhere to stay, with no jobs. There's a lot of things, you know, so like the tax base is drying up. I mean, this is something my mom said early in the pandemic. In the pandemic, I was in Columbus, Ohio. My mom works for the state government. One of the first fucking things when they closed all the offices and they canceled work, she's like, that's going to kill the tax revenue. You know, they can't just shut everything down. You know, these businesses pay taxes on this office space, blah, blah, blah. If they shut it all down, that's going to kill the fucking budget. You know, she said that at the beginning of the fucking pandemic. And now, you know, that chicken has come home to roost. They can't get people to go back to work in person. I don't think they should, right? It's kind of stupid that they're even insisting on this. You know, like the pandemic did kind of show and shift the world into this new kind of hybrid thing. It was like a leap into the metaverse to some degree. But, you know, New York is facing this huge deficit because there's none of these people are renting this fucking commercial office space. What does the MTA do? They enforce this ridiculous congestion pricing thing, which is basically, I mean, I understand, you know, the reasons why they do it, because they want to disincentivize people from these people. Once again, they think economics drives everything. It's the same thinking. These people think economics drives every fucking thing in our society. And if you look at it that way and you force it that way, sure. But like, it shouldn't be that way. Economics, money is like a metaphor for energy and for things. And so it doesn't lead us, you know, which is like this policy, this congestion pricing thing. If we hit people in the wallet where it hurts, they'll stop doing it. And it's like, you know, the only people that first of all, I will say, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but like I've been in downtown New York a fair amount in my time here, and I've been in a car in downtown New York a fair amount in my time here. I don't remember ever seeing the traffic be that goddamn bad. You know, there's certainly traffic jams here and there. It is not untenable. It's not as bad as Columbus, Ohio, where I'm from. You know, the traffic there has gotten really bad because now they have all these new people that live there, and they haven't built any new roads or anything. So it's like the traffic there is bad. New York, it's not that bad, as far as I can tell. You know, it's not. I remember seeing an episode of the Drew Carey Show in the '90s where they were in New York City. It's like one of those episodes where they go to New York. A lot of shows did that, and they were in a traffic jam for like hours. They just left their car there. I've never seen anything like that. The closest I've ever been in anything like that. The other day, Kuzu Daddy and I were waiting for the tunnel on our way to open mic, and there's somebody stuck in the tunnel. We were probably there for 45 minutes. It wasn't that long. That was by far the worst traffic I'd ever fucking seen in New York. So, first of all, I'm skeptical that this is even necessary. Like, I get it. It would be nice if there were less cars in lower Manhattan and more pedestrian-friendly streets and shit like that. But, like, the only people that I knew who fucking drove to lower Manhattan were all working-class people, usually immigrants who lived on the periphery of the fucking city, ways out in Ozone Park or some fucking place where it made sense. Like Kuzu Daddy. You know, he drives to the fucking city a few times a week probably. So tacking on $15 every time he's going to drive over the bridge is a little unfair if you ask me. And it's kind of privileged to ask people. It's already expensive as fuck to go into Manhattan for a poor person. To go through the tunnel is already $20 or something absurd. So they're going to put $15 on top of that. I get why they're doing it. Yeah, sure, it might discourage people from driving there, but like they're creating a city where they don't want poor people, basically. Like they're going to tax you for being poor. Like rich people are probably not even going to think twice about paying that, but it's going to prevent a poor person from driving into the city. You know, are they going to take the train? I doubt it. The people that I knew that drove cars, like Kuzu Daddy, is not going to get on the fucking train. It's not going to happen. You know, I don't know when the last time that he was on a train was, but you know, it's just like there's no like feel for this kind of stuff anymore. There's no feel for like design anymore. It's all like data driven. It's all like statistics driven. Like Moneyball. One of the things I'm constantly seeing videos of on TikTok is Moneyball. That movie with Brad Pitt, which is about how the Oakland A's just did everything based on base percentage. Just that one statistic. And so they spent little money. And it's like, that's how it feels like every fucking in our decision our society is made now. It's just like, let's take some obscure statistic and like, oh, this is the, it's all data driven. And it's like, where the fuck is, like, I don't know. There should be, like, none of this is working, right? Anybody with any fucking sense can go out and see that, like, this is a bad idea. Oh, it's going to add $1 billion a year to the MTA budget. Like, fuck them. Fuck the MTA. Like, there is a lot of truth to this thing that, like, we are getting fucked in this country as far as, like, infrastructure. You know, like, you look at these, I saw this thing, you know, they're talking about putting these panels up to, like, guard the subway train, right? To, like, prevent people from getting pushed on the tracks or whatever. And they have them in, like, Japan and shit. And they're these nice, like, plastic panels, you know, they're, like, sliding. They're, like, very technologically advanced. They had the prototype for what they're going to put in New York. And it costs, like, $900 million or something ridiculous. It's, like, these fucking iron, you know, it looks like a fucking, like, ghetto, like, playground equipment or something. You know, it's like an iron, like, grating. It's just like, it looks like a basketball hoop in, like, a bad neighborhood. It's like, this is not infrastructure. This is like what they would put in a prison. It's like, maybe our country is just a big goddamn prison. Maybe it is just a big goddamn, like, prison farm. And you have to work. You have to work to pay for your own ass. Unless you were born rich. And then you can just fuck off. Because you're one of the guards. You're the warden. You're one of the sick fuck who watches the prison's closed circuit TV. Who watches the gladiator contests of the prisoners fighting each other to the death. And the brutal blood sport of American life. The pro wrestling Perk Angle. Go on YouTube and Google Perk Angle. Do yourself a favor. It was when Olympic superstar Kurt Angle was on Percocet. Doing some death-defying moves. Backflipping off the top of the cage. That's Vince McMahon. You could not get away with what Vince McMahon got away with. The way that guy treated people and the way that he pushed people and the things that he did, our world is quickly moving out of that. And are we rich? Are we poor for it? I'm not sure. Maybe. I don't know. Vince McMahon. What a son of a bitch. We salute you, brother. You fucking bastard. I mean, how he became, like, the most charismatic fucking actor. I mean, McMahon is Shakespearean. Some of his takes. And the thing about wrestling is it allows you to go really big. So McMahon could really dig in. And he did. I mean, he bit it all off. So yeah, here in the prison experiment, we're subjected to some kind of just form of, like, prolonged. It's just like a social experiment, basically. And the people at the helm have just lost all sense. The finance criminals, the shareholder class. They don't give a fuck about us. Zuckerberg is, like, building a bunker in Hawaii. I don't know if you've seen this. It's like a $275 million bunker, which for him is, like, nothing. You know, it's like, that's not a good sign. If the guy that, like, can literally spy on everybody on the planet is building a fucking bunker in Hawaii, I think they've already made their choice. I think the pandemic was like a test round. They're going to send another round again, and I don't know. They'll probably just wipe us all. It'll be like Strangelove, you know? They'll lock themselves into the bunker with all the most beautiful people, and the rest of us will just be exterminated. I don't know. I live a life of poetry. I don't know. I'm beginning to doubt, you know, because TikTok has so many videos about how the mainstream media is like this weird kind of, you have to be a Mason and you have to be, like, you know, initiated and you have to sell your soul and blah, blah, blah. And so, I don't know. What kind of life is there for us? What can we do? You know, that they want to eliminate any possibilities of like an ethical good life. You know, like even if you're a college professor, you have to take all these weird compromises politically or whatever and just play a certain kind of ball with them. It's just whatever game you want to play. I don't know, man. I don't know what the hell to do. So I'm like on my YouTube University. Hopefully I'm going to blow up virally in the year 24 and I can become a thought leader for the new brave new world, the new world order. Oh my God. Okay, what else do I need to talk about? So yeah, I'm 39. But really, I feel like I'm like 28. I feel like I'm 28 or 29. I don't really feel like I'm 39. I mean, like, I feel like I need to travel more. Things in my life happen slower and less. I don't think that much has really happened to me. I mean, in all of our lives, things have like stopped kind of developing. The look of the world. We've hit 1080p. We've hit high def, and so like the last 10 years, the last 15 years, right, have kind of looked indistinguishable. Uh, there's an uncanny quality, an uncanny sameness, and okay, I've got 4 people watching. Jesus Christ. Better say something interesting. Better say something interesting right now. Okay. I don't know. Maybe this is just wishful thinking. I guess I am. Is my life more than half over? Am I halfway done? Am I more than 50% on the status progress bar of life? Am I over 50%? Am I less than 50%? I mean, 3 of my grandparents lived to be 90 years old. So there's a good chance that I might be less than 50%. But, once again, who knows? I mean, things are changing so fast. Within 10 years, they could solve death. Who knows? We might get immortality soon. And maybe I'll read some poetry to kind of kick things in the ass. What's new in my poetry life? I got all these readings coming up. I got to prepare for all that. I've been pretty good about doing shows recently. I mean, this week I got derailed. This was my birthday last weekend, so we went to the Waverly Inn. It was a bucket list item. Do yourself a favor. Go to the Waverly Inn. It's completely worth it. The murals are amazing. The ambiance. I mean, I've had an obsession with the Waverly Inn really since my mom and my mom's side of the family, they always had a subscription to the Vanity Fair magazine. So I grew up reading Vanity. I didn't grow up reading the New Yorker. I think it does say something about my family. We didn't have a subscription to the New Yorker. We had a subscription to Vanity Fair. I don't know what that says. Vanity Fair is more about movie stars, fashion, kind of like elite, international, like rich people, like, Monte Carlo or Dominique Dunn or Princess Grace. That's where they did the Proust questionnaire. The fucking, if you look at the back of Vanity Fair, they do the Proust questionnaire, and they ask famous people the Proust questionnaire. But we had a subscription to the Vanity Fair, so I'd always read it in the bathroom. It was always in the bathroom. Because I like the Proust questionnaire. Those are always fascinating. Go online, Google Vanity Fair Proust questionnaire. You'll find some fascinating. It was adapted for Inside the Actor Studio. And to be honest, the Inside the Actor Studio questions are garbage. They're so stupid. I don't know why he asked them these stupid questions. What is your favorite sound? Is that a good question? What's your favorite word? Is that a good... I don't know. I'm not sure if these are good questions. The Proust questionnaire is actually really good questions. Who is your favorite hero of fiction? Maybe I'll do the Proust questionnaire. I love the Proust questionnaire. It's one of my favorite things in life. It's absolutely the most pretentious thing that exists. I do it like every few years. I've been doing it since I was like a teenager. I love any kind of questionnaire, any kind of interview. In the fucking the newspaper, in the every week they had like this weekly, it wasn't parade, but it was something like that, and they had like a little questionnaire that they had sort of mid-level celebrities do. I love that kind of shit. Paris Review interviews. But standardized questionnaire is pretty good. And the Proust questionnaire, you can't really beat it. There should be a fucking literary magazine that asks writers the goddamn Proust questionnaire. Because it's, who gives a fuck what, like, fucking, Dustin Hoffman or Isaac Mizrahi fucking things. I want to see what, what are, what's Frank O'Hara's Proust questionnaire answers? What's fucking, what's Joanne Kiger's Proust questionnaire answers, So anyway, I'm obsessed with the Proust questionnaire. I always wanted to make a short film called the Proust questionnaire, and so that's something that I've got in the works. Maybe I'll work on that. I need a big project. I need to put myself on the map somehow. It's just not happening. I don't know how to make it happen. It's strange. Oh my god, it's crazy. I mean, so anyway, yeah. What is your favorite sound? What sound or noise do you hate? My children laughing. I love the sound of my children laughing. What sound or noise do you hate? My children crying, arguing. Let's ask a bunch of fucking actors these vapid questions. The Proust questionnaire is actually dope, but I don't know. When I was a little kid, I loved Inside the Actor Studio. I watched an episode with Scorsese. It seemed kind of basic to me. It actually did not seem pretentious at all. It seemed like incredibly basic. He was talking about how he loved The Seventh Seal. It's like, yeah, I mean, come on. What could be more? He's a film bro. It's amazing to me what people think are, like, great movies. Like, a film bro on TikTok, on Film Bro Talk, the movies that, like, film bros like are, like, Pulp Fiction is like Citizen Kane to the film bro. Or like Wolf of Wall Street is like essential film bro. Any kind of Nolan, any kind of Christopher Nolan, anything is like essential film bro cinema. I gotta say, I am not a Christopher Nolan fan at all. I liked Memento. Everything he's done since has been shit, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I thought Memento was a pretty interesting film. Here's why I like Memento. Memento, in my hometown, Grandview Avenue was like the main stretch. There was Stoff's, which was like a coffee shop. Jenny's Ice Cream, Spagio, where I worked. There were restaurants. And then there was an art house theater. And it was the Drexel Grandview. It was an art house. This was a thing. I don't know if these still exist. But in my hometown, there was an art house theater. Because there was like the Megaplex with all the fucking like Hollywood movies. And there was like, a separate theater for the fucking movies that were so pretentious that normal people just like did not even want to be around them. So you go to Spagio and have some, like European Pan Pacific Rim fusion. Then you go to Jenny's Ice Cream, you have some gelato, some pear Riesling. Then you have a cappuccino and some New York cheesecake at Stoff's, some espresso, whatever, I don't know. And then you go see The World's Fastest Indian with Anthony Hopkins at the Art House. Or whatever Sundance fucking movie. The first date I ever went on, I think it's called Happy Endings, with Vincent D'Onofrio and Mira Sorvino. I had a date at the fucking, because I could walk there, It was like $7 or something. It was bucolic. It felt like, I almost can't even believe it existed, because it's almost too like idyllic American, like mainstream childhood, teenage hood. It's like this main drag, and the fucking Drexel is there. And so they got, they play. I saw the Squid and the Whale there. I can't remember what else. I saw Monty Python and the Holy Grail there. They do like repertory shit. But, it was art house fare, It's Coen Brothers movies, The Man Who Wasn't There. And so then they got Memento. Christopher Nolan, I think it was his second movie with Guy Pearce, about the guy who tattoos shit on his body. And that fucking movie played forever. It played, like, literally the entire, like, my senior year of high school. It was just Memento. Because people liked it so much. They just went, and it's weird that that was an art house film because knowing what we know now about Nolan as sort of the ultimate nuclear film bro, the atomic bro of film, the atomic cinema bro. Um, how did he start out as like this innocuous kind of quote unquote art house filmmaker? And I mean, I haven't seen Inception, I haven't seen Oppenheimer, and I don't give a fuck. I mean, I don't care. Those Batman movies were disgusting. They were Bush propaganda for security cop state. You know, I mean, Heath Ledger was interesting. I like Christian Bale, but Jesus Christ, man, those movies were like without joy. They had no joy. They were just, you know, Tim Burton's movies were flamboyant and colorful and full of joie de vivre. I mean, Joel Schumacher, come on, Batman Forever, the best of the series, the great, the apex of the Batman cinematic adaptations, the Schumacher Batman, the Schumacher interpretation. I mean, Joel Schumacher was like very hot for a couple years with Falling Down and Batman Forever. He was like a seminal voice of like my middle school. His movies were on TNT like all the time. And they were, you know, I mean, Falling Down, I haven't rewatched recently. I'd be interested to see how that movie is aged. But hey, they weren't wrong. They weren't wrong about the plight of the white male. We're all defense. We're not economically viable. And so we're just on. I mean, look at the way the character acts out. Talk about incel, like, shooter energy. He thinks he's the good guy. And it's just his anger builds because he's so, you know, slighted. He feels slighted. So his anger builds and builds and builds. Maybe that's because he's privileged, but that was taken away from him. When they moved the jobs overseas, okay, that was taken away from us. America doesn't make anything anymore. We're just influencers. We're just influencing each other and exchanging validation and attention and likes and views and clicks and Venmo me some cash and send some money to my GoFundMe because everything is fucking hopeless. Apparently it's cool to be a line cook now because of this TV show with Jeremy Allen Strong or whatever the fuck his name is. I don't watch TV, okay? It's for sheeple. I'm only on YouTube. I only watch Club Random with Bill Maher. There's a great episode that they just put out. It's the ultimate with Martin Short. Bill Maher and Martin Short. And I gotta say, Martin Short is real as fuck. He is a real one. Mad fucking props to Martin Short. But we did rewatch Clifford the other day. Ashley watched Clifford for the first time. She was initiated into the Clifford fraternity, the Order of Clifford. It's a special group. Many are called, but few answer. Few can. What is it? Many call. What is it? Many are called. Few. What's the fucking expression from the Bible? What did Jesus say? Many are called, few something. She passed. She liked it. She was on board with Clifford. I think and I gotta say, it holds up big time. Clifford. We watched Clifford. We watched two other films, and Clifford was by far the best movie we watched. What the fuck did we watch? We watched Clifford. I need a second to think about it. I'm going to lose viewers if I take a second to think about it. Fuck, you got to keep talking. You got to keep people hooked. You got to keep bullshitting, keep spieling. Clifford, what the... It doesn't even matter. We tried to watch Problem Child. It was incredibly crass. We didn't even get 10 minutes into Problem Child, and it was just it was problematic. Surprise, surprise, Problem Child is problematic. In the modern parlance, Problem Child is I don't know, it's still funny. I still love Jack Warden and fucking John Ritter, my ultimate hero, John Ritter. John Ritter might be the best. I don't know. Who's done it as good as John Ritter since then? I don't think anybody's... I mean, Jim Carrey kind of... He's not really... John Ritter's like a Pratt, kind of clumsy, you know? He's part of that school of things, where it's like, it's kind of about mishap and fumbling. and that kind of nervous energy. Whereas Jim Carrey is way more controlled, and it's way more about his kind of transmutation and kind of like protean, chameleon, and just like his he's able to just like go to extremes with his body to the point that it's like grotesque almost. John Ritter doesn't go. It's not like anatomical oddity. Whereas Jim Carrey, it's like there's certain things he does that like you're like, man, only Jim Carrey could fucking do that. Or it's almost like he invented some of that shit, to be honest. I mean, Jim Carrey seems like he took it to a whole other fucking level. I mean, this is something I did want to talk about in my show, and it kind of relates to this, is like, it's crazy to me, like, how athletes have gotten, like, so much better. Or, like, just think about, like, world records and shit. And how that stuff has gotten more and more just, like, demolished during, people have gotten, look at the way people are jacked now. People's bodies, the muscle they build. It's like people did not look like that 150 years ago, 200 years ago. Like, people are faster now. Like, there is something that's like being optimized and leveling up or changing or something. We're constantly evolving, I think Jim Carrey, I don't know, there was probably people doing that 300 years ago, but I don't know, man. He took it to a fucking new level, it seems like. If you look at somebody like Red Skelton or some shit, Donald O'Connor or, Buster Keaton or whatever, I don't know, man. They're not doing quite what the fuck Jim Carrey is doing. Anyway, what the hell was I talking about? Something of great societal. Oh, yeah, the Drexel, how Memento played there forever. Film Bros. I saw part of The Majestic. That movie looked kind of interesting. What the fuck? I don't know. I haven't talked for 2 weeks. There's tons to talk about. I went to all these open mics last week, but I haven't done anything this week because I've just been... Oh my God. Shout out to Ashley. Ashley's poems came out in the Brooklyn Rail today. I should mention that. Congratulations, Ashley. I have to live vicariously through her. Because I can't achieve any of these things on my own. Ashley's literally achieving everything that I ever dreamed possible in like her first year. She's not even out of college yet. I'm gonna keep there. All I'm gonna say is there's a big announcement coming up. I'm not gonna say anything more, but it's insane. And bravo. I mean, the Brooklyn Rail seems like it's kind of one of the last, if not the last, of the kind of alt newspapers, as far as I can tell. The last time I was in LA and San Francisco, and Columbus for that matter, does the Chicago Reader, is that still like a physical print thing? Like the Brooklyn Rail is kind of like a unique, I don't know how, but it's prestige and it's, it's money, I guess. Who the fuck knows how they do it? It's that art world money. But it's nice. I mean, it's a nice fucking, nice publication. Nice paper. It's a esteemed company. It's been my dream the whole time I've lived in Brooklyn to be in the Brooklyn Rail. Sad but true. But I don't know. It's disillusionment, okay? You realize that it's all bullshit. It's all vanity. And it's all... It doesn't matter. I mean, no, I'm not trying to, like... I think that's amazing, and I'm proud and happy, and that's awesome. But it's also... I don't know. I'm, like, too rough around the edges or something. I do think that there is a lot of class differential that plays into what's going on, particularly in New York City right now, that's really not acknowledged. People are focused on identity, politics, and that's fine. That's okay. You know, that stuff needs to be acknowledged. You know, that stuff needs to be talked about. Uh, it's high time. It's long overdue. But people don't, it's, you know, people worship money in this city. And especially in the fucking elite art circles. You know, it's definitely nobody gives a fuck about class issues really in New York City. You're going to hear more, way more, particularly in kind of prestige arts organizations. It's all about DEI or whatever it is. And that is sort of a prestige position. That is sort of a privileged position, as ironic as that sounds. The people who in power are privileged to make that decision about how they want to delegate their lineage or their clout or their, that's value. They know that has value. And so they're strategic about who they rub their magic wand over. Because it is like a magic wand, you know? People believe that shit, you know? You need that kind of credibility. You need these name organizations. You need that letterhead. You need that fucking credit. You need to be in the New Yorker. You need to be in Poetry Magazine. You need to be in uh, whatever the fuck it is. The Brooklyn Rail, the Poetry Project newsletter, the fucking Virginia Quarterly Review, the Colorado Review, Plowshares, fucking the Chicago Review, the Kenyon Review. Gatekeeping. It's all gatekeeping, okay? And you know, there's not really much of a foothold for poor people in this city. If you're born here, that's one thing. You know, if you live with your parents and you're from New York and you're poor or working class, you know, there's people who live sort of on the fringes of the city. They live with their parents, whatever. They are able to participate. But, you know, the people that go to NYU, the people that go to Columbia, the people that are injected into the clout streams and these social hierarchies, there's a kind of breeding. I do think that there's a language, right? Rich people want to speak a different language than poor people because they don't want to mix with them. You know, rich people are rude, they're demanding, they're nitpicking. They can afford to be. I'm from Columbus, Ohio. You're taught to be agreeable, energetic, a team player. You're taught to work hard, to smile, to be passive aggressive. That doesn't mix. They smell that on you and they think, gross. We want to be around other rich people that are assholes. We want to be around people that went to elite schools, that have that sense of breeding. You know, that's why I romanticized this New York of the 20th century where there were rent-controlled apartments and it was dangerous. It was a place where a poor person could come, get theoretically a foothold just by their street smarts in Manhattan and maybe pull their way. I mean, particularly at Poetry Project, the idea was it was not a gate-kept institution. It was a church. Anybody could come there. It was working class. It was almost like a mission or something. You know, it's like the Bowery. You know, there's all these people sleeping there. You know, that's not now. New York now is a gated community of the wealthy and the culturally elite, and they can choose who gets to stay. You know, and I am sort of hanging on by a thread here. I'm on the periphery, on the fringes. I'm getting older. You know, I don't know, but I don't know. I definitely I came in with a lot of baggage. You got to take responsibility for your own actions, I guess. And, it's nobody, I did whatever I did. And what happened is my fault. Uh, it's just crazy, man. I think it is a part of the breeding to breed into you that, like, uh, it takes a long time to be successful. It takes hard work to be successful. There's almost no chance you're going to be successful. The percentage of people that make it are almost like infinitely small, so don't even try. The percentage of actors that make it, 1%, less than 1%. The percentage of writers that make it, probably less than that. How many people can make a living as a poet of all things, like nobody. Like maybe one person in the entire country. But now there's all these poets that win all these fucking grants and shit that make six figures. They're traveling all over the place. They're going to Europe. They've got book tours. They fucking are in Oprah magazine. They got tens of thousands of Instagram followers. I'm a hater. Am I a hater? I don't know. It's just crazy to me how little in my life has been effective. And I gotta blame it on a conspiracy of psychopaths trying to hold down the schizophrenics in our society. Like that 4chan comment said. Okay? The psychopaths are holding me down. Okay? That's what I've seen most of my lifetime, particularly since 9/11. Whatever values that I champion or represent are really not like in the flow of our society. And in fact, the people who are my enemy are the ones who ran everything. That's something that I saw with my boss in Columbus. My boss in high school, he was like my sidekick, really. I kind of taught him everything. And then in college, he hit a growth spurt. He got tall. He came from a wealthy family, sort of, although he would deny that. And his way of doing things, the Ayn Rand way of just being an entrepreneur of the self and, just taking things and not really being considerate of people's feelings and not worrying that much and worrying about that. And I don't know, it's just like everything worked. It's like that person was really rewarded. Did that make society better? Like, no. Though that generation's parents designed the fucking rules so they could succeed. Like the fucking ultra capitalists, the venture capitalists of the 80s deregulated fucking everything. They changed, and so and they fucking taught their kids to be this way. They taught their kids to be capitalist, entrepreneur, go for it. It's all about you. It's self-reliance. There's no altruism. It's meanwhile, they're the beneficiaries of all this privilege and all this money, and they have a safety net, and they got every toy they ever fucking wanted growing up, and their parents, whatever. And most of my adulthood, the situations where I've been able to be kind of like a leader, I felt like were kind of utopic and peaceful and like flourishing. And then somebody like that comes in because they have some kind of a business interest and they take it over. And they steal that energy. I don't know. It's just like there's no place for somebody like me to build like resource or build like a foundation, because there's no sense of permanence. There's no sense of like continuity. You're constantly moving. You're constantly getting kicked out of places. Venues are constantly telling you you're not making enough money. You got to do it for the art and the culture and the greater good, That's what it's really about. That's what these live streams are for. I don't know. If I say anything that fucking helps anybody, that's the point of doing it. Encouraging people and trying to create momentum. Our society, I think, does, there is like a calculation to reward certain patterns of behavior. And if you're outside of that pattern of behavior, you're just going to like vanish unless you have like an independent income, if you have an independent wealth stream. And I mean, I don't know. I'll do what I do as long as I can keep doing it. That's but I do it with no money. That's why it looks like shit and it's all on YouTube for free. And my books are just like what I print out on my printer. No color, no revision, no editing. When I say things that are incredibly crass in my poetry, that's part of what I'm talking about, this clash of languages. I'm not sanitizing what I'm saying. And I don't know why I do that. It's stupid. I should definitely not say this stuff. It's really dumb. You know? But this is the way that people talk. This is a part of our lives. I don't know. It just gets in there. Maybe stepping over those lines. I don't know. Maybe I just can't. I have to do that, or I like to do that. Ay. Okay. Oh, yeah. But I think that is like, it's something that's keeping me out of, my attitude, my bad attitude. I don't know. If I was nicer, I had the opportunity. If I would have just not fucked it up, if I would have not brought, it just took me so long to meet these people. I started working and I started on the scene, let's say, in like 2017, let's say, at like St. Mark's. I didn't really get to have a conversation with these people until after the fucking pandemic. So that's a long time to be like, on the bench. So a lot of resentment had built up in me. So when I finally did meet these people, I had such a bad attitude that I just kind of shot myself in the foot. But I also didn't believe that, like, if I would have been good, that, like, I could have gotten, yeah, I don't know. It's just like you can't, it's self-sabotage. It's like you can't believe in the idea that you'll be successful or that you deserve success. Like when I try to picture like good, that kind of thing happening for me, I just can't even, uh, it just seems to me like they don't have enough sense. I don't think it's because I'm not good enough. I just think that they're not ready for this. I don't think anybody's ready for this, basically. Maybe that sounds insane, but nobody gets my fucking live stream. Nobody gets my vlogs. Nobody gets my fucking poetry. So fucking ahead of my time. As an Aquarius, I'm so fucking like in the future. That like there's like very few people that even get what the fuck I'm like saying. So it's been disillusioning and been, I don't know. It's just like I've been like, okay, so I look at poetry in New York as like, The Sopranos is like, one of the things that I really like about The Sopranos is the way that it portrays like the entire family tree of like the mafia. And there's always kind of new characters that are kind of coming in and extend and growing that tree and extending it, and like, a new season, there's Furio comes in, and then you see all the kind of levels. You got the boss, obviously, at the top, Tony. You got the captains, Paulie Walnuts. You got the consigliere, Silvio, Christopher. Then you got the foot soldiers, the people at the bottom, fucking, Jackie Jr., whatever. And like that's how poetry is to me. That's like a beautiful metaphor for like how New York City poetry is. You have like the captain or like, the boss is like what? Probably Ann Waldman maybe, or I don't know. Who's the boss? There's five families, right? And then you got the captains, right? You got those people like, Anselm and maybe Eileen Miles is a captain. Maybe Eileen Miles is a consigliere. I don't know. So you have like that level. You got Christopher. Who's Christopher? I don't know. Maybe is Philip Christopher? I don't know. Maybe Philip's Christopher. Leanne Brown is like Janice, maybe. I don't know. Leanne Brown is like is Leanne Brown Polly Walton or I don't know. They're in there somewhere. And so me, I feel like I'm like the Matt Bevilacqua. I'm like one of the little like soldier guys. Who are the two guys that are on like the stock thing? The guy from A Bronx Tale. What's the fucking stock they're like investing in? They've got some kind of like scam penny stock thing they're doing in like a fucking trailer somewhere. That's where I feel like I'm at. Like I'm like a soldier in the big New York City poetry mafia. I think that show displays that kind of network so well. It's almost like a Shakespeare like tree of characters or something where you're seeing all these relationships and all these different crews and these kind of guys go together and these guys go together and they're under this guy and they have this type. That's a duke and that's a poetry seems to kind of have a similar kind of umbrella. And if I'm constantly thinking about how I might write like a poetry movie or something. Because I got to get something out of this experience. I don't know. I think my poetry is just not really like. I try to write for like a popular audience. Like to be honest, when I'm writing my stuff, I want my brothers to like think it's funny. They probably wouldn't, but that's in my head what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, oh, I would love it. That's like the content. Oh yeah, I'll write about Vince McMahon as Vince McMahon is Dirty Sanchez. That's something my brothers would think is funny, maybe. But if you're like a poetry thoroughbred from the East Coast and you've been like, around all these kind of like, there is like a wealth class thing. If you go to these really high-end poetry events, the way that people act is different. It's very delicate, quiet, judgmental. The politics have come into it in a very specific way in the last few years. And if you don't have those politics, or if you're even slightly like not just espousing those politics by the party line, then I don't know. It's a tricky game to play, and I am not any good at it. And that's why I do an open mic, because to me, I am living like in a different fucking timeline or something. And I do feel at odds with basically everything that's going on. That's why I bitch about it constantly. That's why I'm constantly using my live stream to like unpack why the economy is corrupt. Why fucking social whatever theory, social theory about society. To me, the open mic, I'm able to do it because of a freak occurrence, because of the pandemic, right? Because of the shutdown and a freak disaster, I was a beneficiary of that. I was able to live in that apartment. KGB's whole shit got disrupted. Everything was kind of restarting. I got in there right before, when I lived in that apartment, right before everything kind of picked up for real in 23 and into now. And, I never would have been able to do that if there wasn't a complete worldwide catastrophe. Because our society sucks, because it's just not set up for somebody who is really trying to pull themselves up by them bootstraps. I don't even have bootstraps. That's how fucking poor I am. I mean, I make like less than $15,000 every year of my life. You know, like but you can, you skate by somehow. And it sucks. I'm sick of behaving this way. I'm sick of treating people this way. I'm sick of being cheap and having to say no to things and just be kind of withdrawn from the world because I have no money, you know. But they want our relationships to dry up. They want us to not be able to participate except in a certain way, going to bars, buying drinks. And the open mic, is a way of being as non-hierarchical as possible, as giving everybody equal time. It's a democracy of attention and culture, and ideally, it's a mixer, so people meet each other, collaborate, follow each other, and they get inspired by each other's ideas. Everybody gets to be realized. Everybody gets to express themselves. Everybody gets, and it is a way of parceling out attention in an attention economy. Attention is valuable to us. And more than that, we need it as animals for some stupid fucking reason. I do not know why, but some of us more than others need to stand up in front of everybody else and shake our fucking tail feather. I don't know why. It's kind of embarrassing, actually, that we need to do this. But we do need to do it. And so this is my way of just like helping people. It is great. I think this is we need to do this for each other. We entertain each other. I think that's beautiful. You're giving to people to get up on stage in this position of fear where, oh my God, you might embarrass yourself. You might be humiliated. That's a scary thing. And yet, you're sharing your heart, your creativity, your take. You're shaping it in a certain way. You're honing it. You're making it cute. You're making it whatever fun. You're putting magic into it. Ideally, you're putting a synesthesia of emotion and experience and color and texture and sound and noise and putting all of that through the microphone and the poem and the window of the language into people's hearts and everything. Everything in our society wants us to be divided, to be consumers, to be passive, to be watching, to be away from each other, to not think we're good enough, to not hear each other, to not be affected, to not confer. I think that's one reason why social media has just like upended every goddamn thing, because now people are conferring with each other and being like, oh my God, you feel this way too? I didn't know everybody felt this way. I didn't know everybody realized that we're getting fucked by BlackRock and venture capitalists. Why don't we do something about it? That's the thing that's really scary. It's just like everything feels so hopeless about like changing it. It just feels like things are getting worse and worse, more expensive, less convenient, less community based, less quality of life based. And so that's really scary as an artist. And so, okay, reflecting back on my 39 years, when I was 27, 28, I think it was 2013, I got an offer from the video company that I worked for. They were going to give me 10% of the company to stay in Columbus, Ohio, and make corporate videos. And the idea was like I'd kind of work part-time and I could work from home on my laptop or this or that. It wasn't necessarily going to be like something that, they were going to work with my style of doing things. 10% of the company, which I don't even know how much money that would be worth. Maybe six figures. I don't know. But I had texted my roommate Caitlin at the 257 house because I knew there was this tiny room in the house, which at the time it was before the real estate market got real hot. And so they didn't even know what it was worth. They were renting it, I think, before I moved in for $200 a month, like literally almost nothing. And it was the tiny room that I lived in where I did Scenes from a Life, right? And I texted Caitlin and said, if I think Huntley lived in the room. And I said, if Huntley ever moves out of the room, shout out to Huntley, my man. I hope you're doing good. I think he was paying $200 a month to live in the room at that time. Because this is what drives me nuts, is it just feels like the real estate market like woke up when we hit like 30 years old and was like, wait, we got to start charging for this shit. It's like, wait a minute, how did the room go from $200 a month to all of a sudden they're raising my rent $50 a year to the point where it was like when I moved out, I think I was paying $600. It's like, wait a minute, like you didn't even care in 2010, 2009, 2008, 2007, 2000, you didn't even give a fuck. And now all of a sudden it's like, whoa, we got to start raising this every year by like 10%. It's like, what the fuck? So anyway, I texted her saying, hey, if Huntley ever moves out of that room, I want it, because I saw, at that time there was an option. It was like you could live cheaply, right? That I figured I could move into that room. It was going to be cheap enough that I could afford to work very little, and I'd still have, I was willing to try. I mean, at the time it was a risk. At the time it was scary. It was like, how am I going to do this? I couldn't, I was having all these health problems. I thought I was dying. So I was like, I can't get a real job. I can't work in a restaurant or whatever. So it's like, I have to do like video. And so I remember the day I went in for my meeting with my boss, and he was like, and they thought I was going to sign on and be a part of this company, and I was going to have 10% of this company. And I went in, and they were like, okay, so you ready? And I was like, wait a second. Hold on. I'm moving to New York. I got this tiny fucking room, and I'm going to move to New York and be an artist. And to be honest, it was the best decision I ever made in my life. Because that was the beginning of my life, to be honest. Like, that was like the beginning of my real life. That's when I turned pro. As Stephen Pressfield would say. Just quote Stephen, that's when I went pro. Because the room enabled everything. It made everything possible for me. Because I lived 4th Avenue, 9th Street on the F train. So you'd be downtown in 20 minutes. The room was big enough that, like, I had a bed, I had my books, I had a chair, I had my ottoman, like I fucking feng shuied the fuck out of that room. I mean, I was economized. It was tiny living, right? This is the thing that millennials have been forced into, micro homes and tiny living. Because they don't want it. They're creating an artificial scarcity. They could build more. They could easily build more. They're just not. They're not rezoning. They're not building what we need. They don't want to. They want to create an artificial scarcity to make the goddamn price go up. So their money is worth more. They're jacking us around. And it's fucking bullshit. The fucking government should take these people to task. That's what the fucking government should do. The senators, the Congress people, the president should be taking these fucking people. They should be legislating this shit. They should be price regulating. They absolutely should be. As soon as the prices started to go up during the pandemic, the government should have stepped in and said, wait a minute, not so goddamn fast. We're going to keep it right there because it's an emergency, and you're not just going to take people's money during a fucking emergency. That's what they did during the war. They should do it now. But instead, they just stand by and let these fucking people fuck us. And they keep us from getting laid ever again. Because we got an apartment an hour from anything. And we can't have any fun. We can't have any parties in the USA with our neighbors on the lawn dancing barefoot like a goddamn Jonathan Richman song. They don't want us to have fun like they did in the 60s. They have to kill all of the fun. Okay? Reagan saw what happened in the 60s, and they said, we can never let this happen again.
We have to shoot anybody in the face who tries to let this happen. John Lennon, boom, shoot him in the face. Bob Marley, shoot him in the... They killed them all. They said no fun for Americans ever again. Just binge drinking and football. And violent films about mass murder. All the most low vibration fucking shit. Let's make America the most low vibration, like nugged out bong water of a fucking juggalo. Gathering of the juggalos. Let's just get Fago. Can we get Fago into everyone's pineal gland immediately? We need to blind these people's souls to God. Okay? Let's get Elon Musk microdosing irresponsibly. This guy's on Special K fucking decimating Twitter. Decimating the public discourse. That should be illegal. Elon Musk should not be able to buy 1/3 of the media, basically. That's essentially what he did. He basically bought every single fucking newspaper and every single journalist because they're all on Twitter. Most of the intelligent, literary people in this fucking country are on goddamn Twitter. And so when that fucking ketamine K-hole freak buys it, and renames it the most lame fucking thing, it's a travesty for the human race, and it's retarding the discourse in the true sense of the word. It's inhibiting, it's impairing the fucking discourse. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a psyop because, if they wanted to destroy people's ability to organize and to confer, I mean, look at Arab Spring and all that. Twitter was a big part of all of that shit. Twitter is a big part of organization between everybody. And the fact that that guy owns it is kind of insane. This apartheid Nazi fucking spawn is like pushing the buttons behind and just like slaughtering gutting the staff. It's terrible. It's terrible. That's why I'm on TikTok, okay? Because I trust the Chinese government over that guy, definitely. Hey, everybody wants to overthrow the United States, right? I thought that's what cool people wanted to do now. We hate American empire. Get on TikTok. They hate American empire too. They're China. They're China. What the fuck else was I talking about? I don't know. It doesn't look good, people. I mean, so if you're a writer, you can't get a job because there's no apprenticeship in journalism anymore because there's no journalism. All the local journalism is gone, all the local papers. And everything now is like conferred in these kind of boutique lineages, where it's not a meritocracy. People are just looking for celebrity, things that are already known, things that already have name recognition. They want to see things that are already famous. They don't want to make decisions. Oh, this is what's cool right now, so we're doing this. This is what's trending right now, so everybody's doing this. That drives me nuts, man. How about you make your own fucking decisions, your own culture? I mean, I guess I'm prepared to live the rest of my life. What choice do I have as sort of this cultural ant, this cultural worker that's just sort of like, I'm trying to create the best experience that I can for and I don't know. I think that we're affecting people's lives, and that is the biggest thing I think we could possibly be doing, and vice versa, I mean, this whole open mic experience has been the ultimate trip. Think about, I mean, I'm there every week. I've seen every second of every open mic we've ever done. I mean, it's the ultimate acid trip. I mean, but it's also it is like this sitcom. It could easily be a workplace sitcom where it's like characters leave, they come and they go, there's sad goodbyes. There's just eras, there's different feels to it. It's always changing. I think that's one of the things that's exciting about doing it And part of the point of doing like a durational kind of repetition based, consistency based project, it would be easy for me to be like, oh, well, this isn't hot anymore, so I'm just gonna quit and go do something else. I'm gonna go follow the. But it's like, no, like this is what I'm doing. I'm committed to doing this every week, and so it's exciting to me to see the way that it develops over time and morphs and meeting all the people. I wish I could spend more time getting to know everybody. I mean, I've been on kind of this special project for the last year where a certain person has been getting a lot of attention, but I would love to be able to actually confer with and converse with everybody on the open mic because they're amazing people. I'm trying to do whatever I can to promote people and just get that energy, just blast as much energy as possible, get people's work, get as many people's work out there, get as much visibility to as many people and quality. I mean, people are doing such amazing things. They sound great. Their poems are amazing. And it is like, a way to distribute power to the people. It's a way of saying fuck you to the hierarchies, to the gatekeepers, to the academies, to the people that say you need this piece of paper, this credential, this lineage, this blurb, this mentor, this teacher taught you in some goddamn class. You studied with this person. This person's your friend. Blah 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 blah. That's not really, so trying to create a culture that is more equal and everybody gets to share in it and hold it in their hands. Everybody gets to take the wheel and drive for a little while. I'd like to get famous for doing that. But I don't know. It's all about lowest common denominator and immediate gratification now. So I'm trying to spread a more disperse experience and encourage people to explore their own processes and their own active sides. It's about activating and working. Get your pen moving. You get in front of the microphone. You host an open mic. You throw an event. You book a gig. A lot of people on the open mic, it's the first time they've ever been on stage. And so we're trying to launch people from the corporate, private, wage slave world into the circus world. We are the machine. That's like the most frustrating part. And that's why that's why I'm constantly harping on this stuff on my live streams and on other videos and whatever, is because like people should just stop now. Just stop participating. Stop going to work, Just like buy as little as possible. Spend time with your friends. Spend time with your family. Make your own things. Make your own shows. Make your own products. Not everything has to be bought. People are learning that, even though they want to disempower us, they don't want people to be able to sell their own stuff. They want you to buy from big corporations. They want you to buy ready-made garbage, plastic. Yeah, so I think, like, I want to look at the pandemic as an example of, it was a general strike. It was an example of what we probably should do, actually, as policy. There was a universal basic income instituted. The environment started to regenerate itself. I think that that moment, we look at it as like the pandemic shutdown, oh, that was a mistake. I think it's an example of what could be going forward. I wouldn't say we want to we don't want to shut everything down, but people just shouldn't have to do the bullshit. Like, stop feeding the machine, stop feeding the destruction. We can still be with each other. We can still have a community. That was the bad part. The bad part was that we couldn't be with each other. We couldn't go out. We couldn't go see bands. We couldn't go to concerts. Couldn't go to movies, whatever, theater. Couldn't gather in person. That was the bad part. I'm not saying do that, but canceling work and giving everybody money and just allowing people, how many people started live streaming or started a business or bought equipment to record music or started a fucking some kind of artistic enterprise with the time and the money they got from the pandemic. For a lot of people, it was maybe the first time in their life they'd had a lot of free time and money to pursue anything. Like, that's what we should be doing with the wealth that we're creating in this country. We should be creating a world where more people can do those type of things and nurturing those like they do in Europe. There should be socialism, social welfare, so people can be artists, so they can garden, so they can spend time with their family, so they can take care of each other, so they can cook, so they can live their lives, go to the library, travel, ride their bike. They can make things, they can produce, they can be a part of the economy. I think in America they're afraid. I think they're afraid that if they stop this indoctrination of just like work insanity, that people will get lazy. Like now, oh, they're having such a problem because people won't go back to work in the office, or productivity's down, or millennials, Gen Z are lazy. They don't want to work. It's like, I don't think that that's true. I think we want to work a certain amount and we do want to produce things, but we see that the planet is decaying quickly because of pollution and because of overproduction. We don't need all this shit. We don't need more plastic bullshit. We don't need more cars. We don't need more fuel consumption and shipping things. And it's like, there are certain things that are essential. There are certain things that we want. But Americans are taught to have a materialistic lifestyle and to buy shit and to want more shit. And if there was more value in the things being produced, right? We can produce the things here. People want to make things, right? Everybody in Columbus has got some kind of Etsy or some kind of stupid little crafts fucking store. They knit, or they, like, people want to make things. It's natural for us, I think, to use our hands. If you look at basket weaving or fucking blankets or fucking pottery or fucking, some of the most ancient shit that people do, textiles, it's all incredibly intricate handiwork. It's tactile and it's detail oriented and it's real. I think people still want to do that stuff. That's what poetry is for me. I know that it's not quite the same, but making books, right? That's like my physical editing. Video editing can be like that, sort of. There is a physicality to it, even though it's digital. And it's not like people are going to be lazy. It's just we don't want to be enslaved to some corporate bottom line for some company that's carcinogenic to planet Earth. because we feel the fucking temperature rising. We feel the environment changing. We are in harmony with the environment, even though they're trying to lie to us and tell us otherwise. We know this is what I'm saying, like with age. Like even though I'm 39, I know that the way that I feel in harmony with like my lifespan and with the environment right now is like that's just a number, and it's based on kind of an incorrect numerical system. This is one of the TikTok videos I saw, keep seeing recently, is the lunar cycle is 28 days, right? And so we actually have the month was typically, that's why it's called a month, right? Because of moon. It was based on the lunar cycle. 28 days is about the length of a month, right? Except they changed it. We used to have 13 lunar cycles. That was 1 year, because there are 13 lunar cycles in a year. Now we have 12 30-day months or whatever, 31, whatever. And so the TikTok video was sort of about how the calendar is actually off the weather, right? Like the year, because it's like there's an extra day or however many, or, it's not exactly the right length because it's not corresponding to the lunar cycle. Uh, Maybe this all sounds dumb, but uh, it's just a way of like confusing us and disconnecting us from nature, right? Like I'm sure women probably, like women's bodies are directly, and I'm sure men's are too, but I mean women's, it's like their menstruation and things. It's like uh, that kind of stuff matters, right? The way, and so I think there is kind of like an overlay that probably is skewed or imperfect, and like we still need to listen to like our biology, our natural processes, our what our bodies are telling us, as much, if not more, than the fucking, I don't know, the lies that we're told by the Illuminati and their fake calendar. Well, I guess part of it is being they want us to be disconnected from that. It's almost like the 440 cycle thing, right? Like during World War II, the Nazis or whoever, they set the default wavelength for like tuning to like 432 or whatever instead of 440, so it's like slightly off, so it's like slightly, it's like slightly out of harmonic, so it's like slightly unsettling. It causes you like, so everything default like causes us like agitation, causes us anxiety, causes us, whereas if it was set to 440, everything would be in alignment, there'd be harmony, and the default would be harmony. I think there's truth to that. I think that our society is designed to create anxiety, neurotic, um, just constantly feeling like you're not good enough. You got to buy things. You need medication. You need drugs. You need to work. You need to achieve. You need to be productive. Drink coffee. Get more anxious. Get more nervous. Get more productive. Keep working. Keep being scared. Keep being afraid. Keep being jacked. Keep achieving. Perk angle. Let's get everybody on fucking painkillers. Let's get everybody on meth. And we'll all be superhuman. And we'll all burn out by the time, we're 40. I don't know. So, I'm just, every life is different. Every lifespan's different. And I think the arc of how you age is different. Me, I'm going for like a long, low arc. I want kind of a slow, easy, long, relaxed life. And, look at somebody like Corey Haim or Corey Feldman or, where they were at. by the time they were even 30 or something. I've been thinking a lot recently about in King Lear, right? There's the two brothers. There's Edgar and there's Edmund. And Edgar is the good one, and Edmund is the bastard, the evil one. And but in the play, like a lot of things in Shakespeare, they are confused, and people can't recognize which one is actually good and which one's actually evil. And um, Edmund is actually the one that's kind of Machiavellian and manipulative and behind the scenes, kind of, fucking the characters over and whatnot, like Richard III or something. And yet, he's beloved. The characters trust him because he knows how to play them, like Richard III, right? He knows exactly how to manipulate them. So he's the opposite of what he appears. Uh, and then Edgar, conversely, is like that as well, where Edgar is actually good, but because of his circumstances, I forget exactly what the fucking machinations of it are, but you know, because of whatever the fuck happens, he has to like go on the run and he has to disguise himself. He like puts himself as Mad Tom or whatever. He's roaring Mad Tom. He's Tom O'Bedlam. So he has to disguise himself. He puts mud all over himself and fucking, he has to disguise himself kind of as a bad, kind of insane person. Even though he's like, the one who is trying to save the kingdom and kind of bring things back to like, he's like Jon Snow or whatever, right? He's like the one that like you want to, but he has this image that's the opposite of that, where everybody thinks he's crazy, they think he's wild or whatever it is. And the Scottish play, I played a role in the Scottish play, which is kind of similar. It's kind of a similar dynamic where Malcolm, right? Malcolm in the Scottish play is the heir to the throne who's in exile. He had to run away because they don't want him to get killed. But while he's in England, and my first scene is this scene where he's kind of playing this part like he's this licentious kind of like indulgent, vice-ridden kind of evil. Like, so my first scene, Macduff comes because he's supposed to bring me back to Scotland and kind of talk me into like being the king and shit and fighting and all this. And every speech that I give is just about what a piece of shit I am. Like, I've got all this avarice. It's like I'm greedy. I'm blah blah blah. Everything he says, it's like, oh, he's trying to justify it or reason it away. And Malcolm is saying, well, what about this? I'm also, a fucking womanizer. I don't even remember. It's just everything. He's gluttonous. He's this. He's that. Because he's trying to he's testing the character, right? He's trying to see where the character's loyalty is, I guess. And so, I guess this is a roundabout way of saying that, like in life, sometimes things are like that. And I kind of relate to these characters in a way. Whereas, or at least recently, or like in some circumstances, maybe this sounds ridiculous, but I feel like people think that, or like, I mean, particularly among poetry world, right? Like when I say, come on my face, daddy, or whatever, my poetry, these people think that I'm like probably this bad person. They think that I'm like this gross, creepy middle-aged guy that's like preying on younger, people or this or that or but it's not true. I'm the opposite. I'm like the characters in those plays. Whereas at the end of the scene with Malcolm, he goes, it was all a lie. I want to come, I want to fight, but I had to test you and You know, they send all these people over who are spies who try to kill me, this and that. So I never know who. And I don't know. For me, I guess it's just a convoluted series of events that put me in this position in my life where I'm at. But I do feel like I'm a good person who like has a public image that like I'm not a good person or something. You know, uh like I'm only in this for my own ego. I'm only in this to like, you know, get attention, get my own career, you know, blah blah blah. But I don't know. I do feel like I've given a lot to New York fucking poetry. And it's going to sound insane, but I feel like I've given more than I've gotten. Not that that matters, but it's not a transactional relationship in that way. And well, I don't know. It's just like as I get older, it's like teaching this class recently. I taught this class on January 18th, and I got good feedback about it. People seemed to be enthusiastic about when they took it. And so, you know, I'm the open mic host. I taught this class. It's like, is that. I've always been a pedantic person. I've always been kind of a coach. You know, we watched about 15 minutes of Bull Durham. We couldn't get that far into it, but you know, I've always felt like Crash Davis, right? Even when I watched that movie when I was in high school, I felt like Crash Davis. I felt like, and now more than ever, I feel like Crash Davis. I feel like aging, minor league, kind of never was. You know, I got to play in the show maybe like once or twice. I got called up to the show, but I never really made it. And now I'm sort of being retooled as like a manager. You know, to the hot young talent. Well, I don't know. Not that I'm being retooled, but like to be honest, I feel like one of my talents is recognizing talent. That's what I've seen. You know, like I'm not going to say that like I discovered anybody, but I saw Ashley before anybody. And I, you know, it's not like I was jumping on to something. It was just like what she read spoke to me. And jumping onto a bandwagon, I should say. You know, it's just like what she read spoke to me. Now, maybe anybody would have thought that, but maybe I'm just a scout or a teacher. You know, I'd probably be a good teacher. I mean, that I like running my fucking mouth, being pedantic, telling people what to do, and you know, those who can't do teach. I mean, I think that maybe I might be better at telling other people how to do it. Or I don't know, recognizing. I can recognizing what's my role in the poetry firmament, right? Like I'm Matthew Bello Bevilacqua. You know, I was not in the Brooklyn Rail when I was 23 years old. I wasn't even in Brooklyn. I was in fucking. Oh, I was at my parents' house in Columbus, Ohio. Uh, you know, working a part-time job where maybe I made $12 an hour, waiting on rich people, college professors, not waiting on them, bussing their tables. It wasn't even as good as waiting. Bussing is a shittier job, and you get paid less because you actually have to handle all the dirty work. You got to handle all the plates and cups and all that. Our economy is just designed so intuitively and so well. You know, the worse the job is, the less you get paid. It makes perfect sense. The less you do, The stupider you are, the more billions you get. The more of a vicious psychopath you are, willing to fuck people over, the more likely you'll be a billionaire. You'll be a roaring success. You'll be the president someday. Just be a talentless fucking egomaniac. Bosses people around, born rich, racist. You'll be the fucking president of the United States someday. But if you're talented, good-looking, poor, and 5'8" from Columbus, Ohio, you can be a servant for the rest of your life. You can serve the super predators, the apex predators, the super talls, the Taylors, the Travises, the Petes. Okay, what else? What else do we need to fucking fix about society? Telling it like it is. I got 3 likes, goddammit. Fuck you. Yeah, I got 3 likes, bitch. That's how I'm doing. That's how my career is going. So, yeah, I don't know what the future is. Well, the thing is, I don't have credentials to be a teacher. All I have is all I have is this shitty real world experience and real life social proof. What am I going to do with that? That's not going to get me anywhere. This proof that I can make fucking people come to life and be great artists. That's worthless. Changing people's lives, who gives a fuck about that? Oh, you went to college for 2 years and you spent $100,000 to buy into our fucking artistic pyramid scheme? Well, you're going to get shot right to the top of the game. I don't know. I've had an incredible life in poetry, even though I didn't get to really travel or, I didn't have a whole lot of groupies or anything. I never really got any attention or reviews, or I never got published very much. To be honest, I don't know how to even begin to insinuate myself into any of those fucking processes. That's why I never got anywhere in acting in New York, because it was just like, I didn't even try. It was just like, I'm not even going to try to fucking, pay money to fucking be seen by casting directors or I went to Tuesdays at 9. What a fucking joke that is. Like, if you want to be mediocre, go to Tuesdays at 9. I'm sorry. Like, shots fired, but I want to dig deep, goddammit. I'm not trying to be I don't know. People should be digging fucking harder and being more serious and writing about and talking about shit that actually matters. One thing about getting older is now I trust myself. I've lived long enough to see that I was right about everything. And I should have just trusted myself the whole time. I should have been doing this 20 years ago. I should have been taping myself and my family in high school on my fucking VHS camera like I wanted to. But as an artistic project, okay? Not in an exploitative social media way. To me, it's still art. I use YouTube as art, okay? This is I mean, I'd love it if I had 1 million subscribers. I can't help these people are idiots and Philistines, and they don't want real scatterbrain truth while I smoke weed and fucking mind collage ramble. I'm rambling. Oh, that's what Ashley said the other day. She said she was listening to my fucking live streams with one of her goddamn pretentious upper crust elite East Coast friends. All of her friends are wealthy. They stink of privilege. And he said I was rambling, okay? Well, if I'm rambling, explain how I've got 3 likes, asshole. And explain how I got 79 views on my last live stream, okay? If this is just rambling, why do I have my finger on the pulse of New York City open mic performance? The true avant-garde. Look, there has to be a space for real work that's not institutionalized, that's not part of your fucking military propaganda career on Instagram, where people are doing it for love of the game. The word amateur, right? The root of the word amateur, amateur, amour, love. It's all about love, amateur, amour. Okay? For love. You do it for the love of the thing. But even more so, I don't even think it's just that. I mean, our culture sucks. All of the things that are popular are terrible. Okay? This is the anthology of American folk music, okay? This is the old weird America. It's at open mic. It's the only place it can go. There's nowhere. It's on the internet, unfortunately, and it's but this is the real life internet. This is the real life Instagram reel. This is the real life public access. This is the real life YouTube. This is the real life TikTok, okay? It's called people. It's called a fucking microphone, a fucking PA speaker, a fucking eighth-inch cable, a fucking upright piano, and fucking human beings in a goddamn magic circle paying attention and giving each other their sacred focus. It's a form of love, right? Attention is a form of prayer, right? That's what Simone Weil said. Attention is a form of prayer. This is where we go to pray. And it's not about celebrity, and it's not about Taylor and the fucking stadium tour. And wasn't that great? This is the goddamn economy. That's one person sucking up all of this fucking attention and resources. This is socialism. Okay? Everybody gets a little. That's how it should be. You know, everybody gets to be famous for 5 minutes in easy paradise. And hopefully they get laid, and hopefully they get paid, and hopefully they get drunk, and hopefully they have fun. And hopefully they create a... I know every time I come away from a fucking open mic, I am juiced, and I am gassed up to write. And I know I'm going to write something that... Because, you know, I met poets. I felt that energy. I felt, you know, their response. I could, you know, the crowd, the energy of a crowd is so fascinating and so interesting to grapple with and to be in front of. And it changes you, you know, that energetic, you know, back and forth of riding that kind of big ocean of attention and people and energy. And God, I haven't been getting enough of it. I've been too shacked up. You know, I need to get out of this. How do I get out of my own life? I just want to be in the clubs with people, reading my poetry, doing my stand-up philosophy. I'm not a comedian. Do not ever call me a stand-up comedian, okay? I am not a stand-up comedian. I do talk pieces, okay? I'm a public lecturer. Well, it's really just more poetry. It's really more poetry. You're trying to sneak poetry into an unsuspecting audience who's susceptible to, they want, you know, the audience has been so dumbed down that they have to be fed the dog food of Joe Rogan podcast and Bill Maher. They can't handle the high definition insights of the poets and all the specificity and the intricacy. But poetry is a deep comedy. Poetry is really like the true stenciled out, handmade, you know, every square inch is filled out deep comedy. And music, I've been getting into that more too. I've been doing a lot of music open mics, and it's been beautiful to kind of reconnect with that on a more chill level. With my music recently, I've been kind of, you know, our era, we like chill. You know, the music I grew up with and the boomer music was all rock, loud, fast. The louder, the faster, the better, you know. If it's too loud, you're too old. That's what I grew up with. That's one reason why I'm so loud and why I scream, and because I'm trying to be Robert Plant or something, which is very inappropriate for poetry crowd and decorum and the sense of fragility and whatnot. And quiet, and shattering that quiet and that silence is not really, it's violent. It's barbaric. But I don't know. They like that, you know. Boomers love that. They love the golden gods. They love the hammer of the gods. I think we're just so I don't know, overstimulated. Maybe we want something chill. I don't know. So anyway, I'm gonna get off pretty soon. Thank you for watching. I got to get back into meditation. Uh, I should have gone to Pete's tonight. I wanted to go to Pete's. I just got so. I was so tired, even though I spent the whole week in bed. I need a break from my break, and I just got behind, and so I missed Dead Pete's once again, which is a shame because I've been meaning to go to it forever. But I don't know. You know, I do feel a need now to go out and like prove myself in poetry world. Like now everybody looks at me like, "Oh, you're just this open," or like I'm the host guy. You know, like I've had a couple of the open mics I did recently. I had people come up to me and be like, "Oh yeah, I kind of forgot that you read poetry." It's like I need to show these motherfuckers what time it is. Okay, it's like sometimes you need to go out and show. You know, you need to show the young people that you can still whoop ass. And I don't know. It's like wrestling. You know, you got to go out and get in front of the people. You got to be at these shows. You know, you got to be at Hot People Read Poetry. Shout out to Natalie. I can't believe I missed Hot People Read Poetry, too. I was being held hostage uptown. I wanted to be there, but I wasn't hot enough, I guess, to read poetry, so I stayed. I was on the train, not reading poetry or being hot. And today, you know, I just, you know, I need. Well, I've got a bunch of things coming up, like in mid-February. I'm doing this thing at 96 Tears. Shout out to Billy Lamont. Billy Lamont asked me. He asked me to do this spot, so I got to read 10 minutes at that. I'm doing Word Shed. Shout out to Leia. She's the best. I love her. I'm doing that. Alicia Ostriker is on this fucking reading, who I think is like famous. I looked at Alicia Ostriker's Wikipedia entry, which she has one, first of all. And it said that Kurt Cobain had an Alicia Ostriker poem in his fucking journals that were published. So I'm on this reading with this woman that's like kind of famous. And she's like an old feminist Jewish poet, so I have to like bring my A game. So that's like the 18th. Then I've got another fucking this shout out to Jason Trachtenberg. He asked us to read the 20th or something. I've just got a bunch of shit coming up. And I haven't been able to buy a calendar yet. The dollar store was all out of fucking calendars, so I don't even have a goddamn calendar. So I don't even know when the fuck these dates all are, but I need to write a bunch of stuff. I need to write about 20 or 30 minutes for mid-February. And so, you know, the thing is, it all takes time. And I haven't live streamed in like 13 days, 12 days. But it's like, yeah, but I did 2 open mics last weekend in person. That's why, and I wrote a bunch of stuff in my, you know, I took a night where I could have live streamed and I just wrote instead. It's like it all takes time. And so, you know, if I'm not doing this, I'm trying to foster the in real life. And that's important. It's important to go to Hot People Read Poetry and show your face and say hello. Otherwise, people think you're stale. People think you're in the rearview mirror. They think that an animosity can build up. You know, they think, oh, why didn't you come to the thing? He doesn't like us or blah, blah, blah. And so you got to maintain all these relationships. You got to tend to the garden, right? And, you know, Ashley has been a special project. And it's been important to help her. I know she, you know, not that she needs any help, but like, you know, I do feel like it's like a Virgil Dante situation, okay? I feel like I can be Virgil. She's Dante. She just got to hell. And I can, you know, not that I did a lot, but she gets to read at the fucking open mic every week. She gets to fucking scare people away. She gets to scare people away from my small business. and take a lot of the spotlight and develop and get used to being in front of people and get that feedback immediately from the audience on a week to week to week to week to week to week basis, whatever that may mean. It does do something. Not everybody gets that, you know. I don't know. I've just gotten into and my brother in the same thing, and maybe this is a millennial thing. I don't know what it is, but it's like I get into these situations where I feel like I do all this labor for people, where it's like I help, but it's like invisible, you know? It just, I'm going to sound like an asshole if I even claim this, but it's like I spend a lot of time, and like I said, it looks invisible, but like you just point people in the right direction. That's all you have to do. You have to go, you know, and they take care of the rest. And I couldn't do that, you know? So like I said, in a sense, I am living vicariously through Ashley. She has achieved everything that I failed at. And she did it immediately, and she did it easily. I don't necessarily think that's indicative of any kind of value judgment per se. I think that what I do is antagonistic, it's antisocial, it's going against the grain, and I don't know. It'll either disappear or have a latent effect, which it already is. I mean, I'm 39, right? And things are just starting to kind of flourish. And like, I'm not trying to take credit for more than I deserve credit for, you know. But even asking for any kind of credit sometimes feels like you're, whoa, wait a minute. You're trying to take credit for something that you know. And it's like, well, it's what we have to justify the way that we spend time and the way our society is organized. You know, you have to claim some kind of productivity from everything because we're just on the clock all the time, basically, whether you want to be or not. So it's like anything I do, unfortunately, maybe that's just a poison that I have, but I have to look at my social relationships like this, you know, like why am I spending time with this person? What is it doing for me? Is it helping me as an artist? Is it what, you know, that's a terrible way to look at human life and activity. But it's like you you have to think about what am I getting out of everything, you know, and try to get as much out of everything as you can. Try to get two birds out of one stone if you can. And with poets, it's like when you spend time with each other, I think it is like it's always like a workshop. You're always helping each other. And that's what I want to do. You know, it's like Jules et Jim, you know, at the beginning of the movie, they're fencing, they're translating each other's poetry. That's what I moved to New York to do. Was to hang out in cafes and live the poetry life. I wish I could be more of a part of the big scene and the whole gallery of players. You know, but sometimes one-on-one, there needs to be a more extensive, and with, a lot of it is like collaborative and a chemistry thing. You know, with Ashley, it's like the vlogs. She copies my vlogs. There's just like somebody's helping you. They're pushing you. They're helping you create the Weezer cruise, you know. We went to Yale. We did that reading up at fucking Columbia. Like I said, the vlogs, doing them at the library. It's, so it's always like spurring onward, right? But, I don't know. I do feel like I want that energy, like, that kind of playfulness and that magic to be applied to a bigger scope. It's not really enough to have it kind of hidden away as this kind of secret thing. It's like, there's so much more we could do. There's so much more, so many more people, and so much more uh, greatness. We haven't even really begun to like make projects outside of the open mic and use this network to like. Well, some people have. That's one of the things that's been frustrating to me is helping to put a network in place, but then also not really being able to uh, utilize it or you know participate in it, and yet everybody else might capitalize on it. That's not the point of doing it, but uh, I would just like to get to know more people. I like meeting people. I like, you know, experiencing a lot of different lives and how they do it, and especially with poets and artists and stuff. Now's the time while we're young. I won't be younger for too much longer. you know, it's just about over for me. I'll be 40 next year, so I didn't have a big party this year because I had a big party last year, and I didn't want it. You risk. Last year, I really pushed it because I knew I was moving out of that apartment, so I had to just have like the biggest party that I could have because it was really my last chance. And that's why last year I made like such a huge deal out of my birthday. I felt like a douche because it's such a like pick me girl thing. It's such a look at me thing. Like, oh, it's my birthday. Are you going to come to my party and my open mic? It's my birthday week. And so last year I wanted to have a huge party because I knew it was my last chance. I had not had a big party in that apartment. It was like, okay, I got to have a big party. And it was awesome. It was one of the greatest nights of my life, honestly. I had tons of poets over. People read my poetry from my book to me. I showed my vlogs. It was awesome. But this year I was just like, I don't know. Next year's my 40th birthday, so I probably will have a party next year. And the last time I had two big parties back to back was the Slooge years. So my 30th birthday was one of the best days of my life because it was the first time I ever showed scenes from a life to people, and it really went well. A lot of my friends were there. We were smoking weed. It was before they renovated the downstairs, so it was just a great. It was like the door opened to my 30s, and it was like welcome to like being an artist, basically. It was like I'm showing my work. I was just scared to show my work. Holy Smokes was just starting, so we played some music. I had all these people that I loved in this amazing, house. It was warm. The environment was still, and then the next year, it was like 1 year into the Slooge, and so I had another big. If you watch, there's a scenes from a life episode about it. Frankly Fabulous's 18th birthday party, and you could just tell that like I don't know. It's not like my head got too big, but people acted like my head got too big. And so it just felt kind of tacky to have this big party that was like, oh, aren't I the greatest again, And so I didn't really want to do that. I don't want to put people in some awkward position where they have to like, uh, show fealty or something, or like, prostrate, or like, pay their respects or something. It's like, and plus I don't feel that popular this year. I don't know. The thing that's scary about birthday parties is you find out how popular you are. And so I was just like, you know what? I'm not even going to tell anybody it's my birthday this year. I don't want to know. And I don't need a big thing. It's like, it's a lot of pressure. Birthday, you feel like you have to make it significant. And you feel like it's this day where it's like, oh my God, every second of this has to be like perfect, or else I'm not getting everything out of it I can. I need to get food, the best meal out of it. I got to get dessert. I got to get, not that I get presents ever, but it's like it has to be a special day. Usually on my birthday, I write. That's like my present I give to myself. It's like, because I know that I won't feel guilty about it. On your birthday, you can do whatever you want. It's your day. And so I figure because I can do whatever I want, I'm allowed to write and I don't have to feel guilty about it, like I should be doing something else or I should be outside or uh but I got to say I had a cheeseburger at the Waverly Inn. It was the cheapest thing on the menu and it was fucking good. It was probably the best cheeseburger I've ever had in my life. It was fantastic. Cooked to perfection, medium rare. It just dissolved in your mouth. It was phenomenal. The fries were not great, but I mean, the ambiance. It's where they shot that Fran Lebowitz movie, the Martin Scorsese public speaking movie. They shot in the Waverly Inn. So it's like, I was talking about Vanity Fair. So I was obsessed with Vanity Fair when I was a kid. And Graydon Carter was the editor. And he had like the ultimate kind of high-powered literary editor, New York lifestyle. Condé Nast like gave him a townhouse in the West Village that he like could live in for free. They gave him like a limo to take him everywhere. He owned this fucking restaurant, the Waverly Inn, and so he was like he was like the maitre d' of the restaurant, where he's like every day he's like choosing the seating arrangement. It's all these celebrities and shit. Ellen Barkin or Clooney or Obama would eat there, and he owned this restaurant where all these fucking celebrities go. He lives in the West Village. He's the editor of Vanity Fair. So it's like, in my, Ohio teenage head, that was like what I wanted to be when I moved to New York. Moved to New York, become some kind of high-powered celebrity, literary, movie, actor, poet. The Bob Dylan of filmmaking or something. And eat at the Waverly Inn with Sting. And 15 years later, just a short 15 years later, all it took was having Ashley take me. I never would have gone. I should have gone during the pandemic. I would walk by that place every fucking day during the pandemic. And I easily could have afforded it because I was just getting Biden bucks like, whoa. I should have just gone to fucking Waverly Inn during the pandemic, but I broke the curse. Ashley broke the curse for me. This is scarcity mindset. See, this is what they breed into you in the Midwest. You're not good enough to eat at Waverly Inn. You're not Graydon Carter. You're not Yoko Ono. You're not Joe Scarborough. You're not, Meghan McCain. You're just some hick. It'll never happen for you. You're not talented enough. You're not blah, blah, blah. It doesn't happen. It barely happens to anybody. So forget about it. The chances are astronomical that you're going to succeed. And so I've just spent 15 years basically as like some kind of weird line cook. I feel like a porter. The way that I live, I feel like the porter of humanity. Like I'm just here washing the dishes of the fucking human race with my notebook out in public, listening to people in an anonymity. Like Peter Falk, like an angel in Wings of Desire. And it's because of these legacy media indoctrination. All right, I've only got 10% battery left. Thank you for watching. We made it to the Waverly Inn. I'm going to go there regularly. I'll go there every fucking year for my birthday now. It was great. It was honestly a great experience. Not that it's necessarily like the best restaurant in the world per se. I mean, it says right on their menu, Donald Trump said it was the worst food in New York. Which I don't agree, and I wish they wouldn't put that on the menu, but I'll go there every fucking year for my birthday. It seems like that'd be a good yearly ritual. I used to go to Max and Irma's every year when I was a kid. I'd go to Max and Irma's, I'd have chicken fingers and fries. They had an arcade in the fucking restaurant. So you could play the Simpsons arcade game or X-Men or what's that game? Road Blaster. And I remember watching my dad got motion sickness one time from playing one of the car racing games in the arcade. They had a Sunday bar, so you make your own Sunday. So it was the ultimate place to have a birthday. I had my birthday every fucking year. It's some of the happiest memories of my life. My dad would take us to Max and Irma's every year on our birthdays. Susan, Jack, we'd pile into the van, go to Max and Irma's. I'd have chicken fingers, fries. They had all this shit, they had like a race car on the fucking wall. They had a beer tap that was like a woman's like bare breast. So like when you pull the tap, the beer comes out of her. So it was like a tchotchke restaurant, And when I was real little, and this is the last thing I'll say, maybe when I was real little, it's kind of incredible a world like this ever existed. But when I was real little at Max and Irma's, the thing that I loved and left a vivid impression on me as a pre-conscious human being, like 3-year-old or whatever, is they had these fucking phones on the table, right? Like they had a phone sticking out of the wall, and you'd pick up the phone and you could talk to people at the other tables. So that somebody else, at some other table would pick up a phone, you'd pick up a phone, you could hear, it was like a party line. God knows what kind of filth. Now it's like it'd probably be like a fucking Counter-Strike, chat or something. Be like an Xbox Live chat. People just saying the most heinous. Be like a comment section. You're retarded. But yeah, that was in the 80s. That didn't survive the 80s. They got rid of that probably around before Clinton. And I don't know, that's one of the things that's vivid to me about being born when I was 1985. That world of the 80s was very different. It was alcohol. You could feel the drugs. You could still feel the 60s. You could still feel that party. You could feel, things were still analog. It wasn't totally surveillance, managerial, tech like everything is now, where everything is overseen and sanitized and managed and financialized and privatized and empty. It's vacant. The world is a lot less fun. It's less mammalian. It's less warm. You feel you. It's like that Jonathan Richman song, Parties in the USA. Something has changed. People used to dance on their fucking lawn, and they used to know their neighbors, and they used to be relaxed. And, when I was a little kid, I remember my dad taking me into fucking Bernie's Bagels, where he played music, and just the texture of that place. The wood, everything in the fucking place was wood. It smelled like beer and wood and, people carving shit. And just like music, live music. Dick's Den was like that. They felt like beatnik places. They felt like they belonged to jazz musicians, poets, rock musicians, college students, readers. It was before video games, before the kind of cyber facsimile of reality, that where everything doesn't have a scent. Before modern metrosexual kind of grooming, deodorant, shaving, waxing, Axe body spray. It was, that kind of San Francisco head shop, East Village, kind of psychedelic underground. There was a such thing as the underground. And it was literally underground. It was a basement. Going there with my dad to collect his money. We used to go to this place called Monkey's Retreat, which was an underground comic store / like they sold Tai Chi stuff. and the guy also sold weed. They had like Crumb comics and shit. You know, that was a viable business before the internet. You'd have like a fucking underground comic store. It was called Monkey's Retreat. This guy, Rosie Mendelson, owned it. My dad bought weed from him. So he'd take us, we'd go into the basement, we'd sit there while our dad bought weed. But it was like you could feel the funky texture of these places and how they were meeting spaces for weirdos. And our society has less and less of that. Less BO, less Zippy the Pinhead, less Alt Weekly. The keep Portland weird energy is pretty much being vacuumed out of everything. Even, I mean, I do the best I can with the open mic and my whole assault. Thank you for watching. We'll talk to you next time, everybody. Good night. Happy birthday.